All right. Getting it fired up here. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another night of coverage here. Day 64, covering the war in Ukraine. I'm your host, Andrew Mercado, and we're live here on YouTube now. We have a array of news to cover here from the war in Ukraine, as well as an update from us, actually, on the status of our monetization on Facebook. We got hit with one. We got hit with demonetization on the Facebook platform, and we'll be talking about that and more. Check into the stream, comment what you're tuned in from, and we'll be back after this short intro. All right, everybody, welcome again to another night of coverage of the war in Ukraine. I'm again your host, Andrew Mercado. We're on day 64 of coverage here. In this description, you guys can find it in our video here. Again, like the video, make sure you are subscribed to the channel so you guys never miss a stream. All right, so update with our platform. Mercado Media has been demonetized on Facebook for including CBS coverage in an April 11th stream on Facebook. Paramount Global manually copyrighted the stream on April 28th, resulting in the loss of all features such as stars, ad revenue, and earning new subscribers. An appeal has been submitted to Facebook, and an email will be sent to Paramount Global, who owns CBS, to hopefully resolve this issue. Mercado Media is nearing 100,000 followers on Facebook, and we have over 400 monthly supporters. So that one really hurts. They manually copyrighted a stream from April 11th, and I'll be putting that on screen and showing you guys what getting demonetized looks like. White House sends Congress $33 billion request for Ukraine. The White House package is by far the largest single funding proposal of the war and dwarfs the annual defense budgets of most nations. Thank you, Fallon, for the $50 super chat. My audio and video are out of sync. White House sends Congress. It's probably lagging on top. Added to the list of issues. The Mariupol City Council reports that outbreaks of cholera and dysentery and E. coli may erupt in Mariupol. About 100,000 Mariupol residents are in danger not only because of shelling, but also because of unbearable living conditions and unbearable living conditions that are unsanitary. Transnistria has stopped all men of fighting age from leaving its territory. Moldova views this move as a concerning escalation. In Kyiv, the Shevininsky district, one of the central districts of the city, was shelled. There's no information about the victims yet. Mayor Vitaly Klitschko wrote on his Telegram channel, the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres is now in Kyiv, and the UN Secretary General visited today, and they were shelled. The city of Kyiv actually received an airstrike while the UN Secretary General was visiting. Polish media, Spanish army ship arrives in Poland with 200 tons of military assistance for Ukraine. Thank you, Helga. The 149 meters long Ysabel carries the largest delivery of military aid that Spain has ever provided to the Ukrainian armed forces: weapons, 30 trucks, and 10 off-road vehicles. The U.S. House of Representatives passes a Lend-Lease bill to speed up weapons supply to Ukraine. The House passed the Ukraine Democracy Defense Lend-Lease Act of 2022 by a vote of 417 to 10. It is approved by the Senate and President. Ukraine will be able to get military equipment faster. Moderna is now seeking an FDA approval for its COVID vaccine for kids under 6 years old. And then here, local news in Minnesota. Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis cop that was convicted for George Floyd's murder. Attorneys for the former Minneapolis cop asked to seek an appeals court on Monday on either to reverse his conviction and grant him a new trial in a different venue, or return the case to a lower court for resentencing. Chauvin's lawyers are citing pre-trial publicity, safety concerns made by the jurors, potential riots in the event of Chauvin's acquittal, and physical threats on the courthouse itself as ample reasoning that prove he received an unfair trial. So we'll be updating you guys more on that. And Derek Chauvin's situation, again, former Minneapolis cop, found guilty of the murder of George Floyd back in 2021. So that's your update here. Let's go into it and look at what being demonetized looks like on Facebook real quick before we get into the full coverage. We have been demonetized on Facebook, and this is what it looks like. This is why I cover the war on YouTube now every single night for 3 hours. And I've been doing like an hour update to Facebook because I can't do what I do here on YouTube on Facebook. I can't go into the videos that we watch. Like, I have a whole list of videos that we're going to be going through. But I was manually copyright striked from an April 11th live stream that we did. And the video was only about 14 minutes long. And we were cut off, and I had to tell everybody, hey, come to the YouTube stream because we're still live. This happened. I mean, you guys have been watching. Facebook's been a problem since the beginning, and we actually haven't had any issues minus the other night where YouTube just ended my stream and started another one. But we haven't had any glitches or anything after I stopped streaming to Facebook. So Mercado Media Production shared content that was removed by Facebook because your page did not own the content or have rights to it. So we lost in-stream ads. We lost the unable to partner with advertisers. We're unable to tag partners in posts. We lost ads and live streams. I'm unable to earn bonuses from posting reels. I can't receive stars. I've lost the ability to earn new subscribers. So Facebook hit me with the proverbial hammer. They got me. Full demonetization of everything that I make money and earn a living with on Facebook. They took it away. And this happened because of, again, footage from April 11th that we included in the stream. And here's the email from Paramount. Hello, we removed or disabled access to the following post on Facebook because we received a notice from a third party that content infringes on their copyrights. Again, this is a fair use argument. Video uploaded on April 11th at 8:01 a.m. So we were doing a morning coverage on that day. And again, this is, what is it, April 28th now? And they went and manually copyrighted on an April 11th live stream. So this was like 17 days ago. If you believe this post should not have been removed by Facebook, you can contact the complaining party to resolve your issue. And you guys can see the rights owner is Paramount Global. I gave the email I need to reach out to, and then the copyrighted work would be a live video. So that's what we did. I fought it and everything through Facebook, but it's looking like I need to email Paramount Global to get this resolved. Because I mean, I've submitted an appeal to Facebook. That's what this looks like. Limited originality, a content violation. They're gonna get back to me in 2 to 3 business days, hopefully. But here is the content in question right here. Ukraine war rages on. As you can see on Facebook, no monetization violations. Facebook itself didn't even take it down. They didn't. The automated bot that does the copyright, if it matches a copyright match, didn't even pick up on this. It's published. It's green. It's on there. It's not taken down or anything. There's nothing on here that says, hey, look, Paramount Global has taken your video down. This was a 14. Look at ad status monetized. This is the video. So Paramount or CBS, because they own CBS, because this is stream, we included some CBS coverage. There's some footage that I used.
Systems.
But this stream was only 14 minutes long because Facebook took it down, and I had to tell everybody to head over to YouTube. So, fighting this, I appealed. Hopefully, we'll get this stuff back, but that is the update from the Facebook situation from Mercado Media. Completely demonetized, restricted across the board. I'm hoping that it gets resolved. Here's a couple ways you guys can support beyond making sure you're subscribed to this YouTube channel. You can become a member of the channel. All right, you can become a patron. Join our Patreon. This is a huge one because I do exclusive content here on Patreon. This is a way to support the media going forward. Facebook and YouTube can't touch this. And then another thing too that I constantly forget is our merch store. We have a whole bunch of merch. Links in the description. We have t-shirts, sweatshirts, sweatpants. We have ladies apparel, t-shirts, sweatshirts, sweatpants. It's tank tops, and then accessories. All this right here: hats, beanies. There's a mask, all types of stuff. All this is in the description. There's always you guys can support while we're battling this with Facebook, and then beyond this too as well. And I'll do better of promoting that stuff. But it's all in the description of the video. Or if you're wondering, just reach out to the page and we'll answer any questions you guys might have. All right, that is the update on Mercado Media. Now let's get into the war updates. So again, let's get into the visit by UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Let's watch the video, well, a couple of videos on that situation here that played out in Kyiv. And again, there was a missile strike in Kyiv while he was visiting. Let's take a look here.
Пожар, быстро! Быстро, бо там пожар уже горить! Быстро в ту комнату, быстро! Внизу в комнату!
Civilians filmed the missiles in the sky. So this was in Kyiv during the UN chief's visit. No, if you're a current subscriber on Facebook, it'll stay. I just can't earn any new ones. And if you lose your subscription, you can't get it back right now. So as long as you're still a subscriber on Facebook, it's fine. I just can't earn anybody new right now. All right. Civilians filmed the missiles in the sky. Ukrainian Defense Minister Oleksiy Reznikov condemned the strikes.
Блядь, Назар, что делать?
There's the strike in Kyiv. Compilation of video. Let's go to our timeline, watch some of it from today. So that was 10 hours ago. Operational command, that's in Mykolaiv. We'll come back to that. Let's stay on Kyiv. Kyiv, 3 Russian missiles were launched at Artyom defense plant in the capital. That's what that looks like. Another video. Aftermath of Russian missile attack on Artem weapons production plant. I think there's supposed to be an Artyom. This was in the capital city of Kyiv, so if you want to see it on the map, here it is, center, right here. Here it is on our war map. So even though the Russians are pushed out of the northeast and northwest regions of Kyiv, outside of it, you know, there's still there's plenty of cities that have been hit since then, since the expulsion of Russian troops up here. Kyiv's been hit, Lviv's been hit. There's strikes to the west that we need to go into as well. Here in missile strike at an infrastructure object in Sherpivka district. That was 4 hours ago. And then explosions at Kamenetsky. That was 8 hours ago. We have to go into that. This was in Kyiv today. A video of consequences of today's missile strike in Shvnetko district of Kyiv. According to preliminary information, 10 people were injured and 5 rescued. The work continues. Thank you, Karina. Thank you. Thank you, Believer. Thank you. Gotta realize too, every time Russia hits one of these targets, that's resources that Ukraine has to put towards the recovery, the rescue efforts. So that's their tactics, their war of attrition tactics. They hit civilian targets, and then every time they do, all these sources need to be allocated to help, and that allows Russia to make moves while this is going on. They're getting, from the last reports I've seen, they're getting about one house at a time in the east. It's a slow ground gain. This footage is from Kyiv.
Живая. Боже, испуганная просто. Да? После операции была. После операции?
So that's some video. Again, this is going on overnight. We can talk about it. This is in the city of Kyiv, capital city. There hasn't been a strike there in a few weeks now. Kyiv is in about the north central part of Ukraine, like damn near right in the middle of it to the north. On the 7th, I had to go see the new M1A2 SPV-3 tanks in Fort Hood. Poland has a few hundred of them. You got an apartment complex on fire. Firefighters working to put the fires out. I'm sure they're back under, we'll listen to John's update today, but I'm sure they're back under a curfew after this. See, even like the firefighters, look at, they got kit on, or they got a vest on. rescue efforts. Lit up the whole street. Okay, let's go to look at the next one. A Russian missile strike, excuse me, a Russian cruise missile attack in Kyiv, second impact caught on video. Are they like in a bus right here? Thank you, Randy. From that one, it said there was only injuries. 10 people were injured and 5 were rescued. No reports of death from that strike. Russian cruise missile attack in Kyiv 3 hours ago. We'll get more information on this. You could see the missile in the air. Right there. They're on a train. Continue on. Let's go to Rob Lee. See if we can get more information on that as we go. Let's just start at the top and work our way down the timeline. Those are some of the highlights from our mod team that shared on the Facebook, or excuse me, on our Twitter feed. Thank you again. But welcome, Randy. Thank you so much, Bonnie. $3 super chat. So this is Rob Lee. He's a open source intelligence reports low-flying Russian Su-25 attack aircraft in Zaporizhzhia Oblast. Often posts combat footage. So add this to the list of clips we've seen of low-flying Su-25s in the Donbass region. Another one, Russian Su-25 attack aircraft in the Donbass. You guys think this is the same too, or is it? They obviously operate in pairs. I see the train tracks too. Hello from St. Paul, Minnesota. How you doing, Lisa? Very low. Got to avoid anti-air. You can see I'm using flares here. I'm unfortunately not well versed in aviation or Air Force stuff. I say I'm 10 toes down. Anything on the ground or in a vehicle, I got you. Don't know much about aircraft. Yeah, there's increased movements in Transnistria and Moldova. There's about a battalion level contingency from Russian forces in Transnistria right now. So I mean, it's not like they have any type of a dominant force in Transnistria. Here's Transnistria. People have been asking about it. We learned about it a couple streams ago, I believe. Now we did the documentary review. There's obviously more to learn, but we got a glimpse. There's Transnistria. Here's Moldova, right next to Ukraine. Video presumably of a Russian Transnistria artillery strike on a Ukrainian tank. Let's do a viewer check-in really quick too. Comment where you're tuned in from. What city, what state, where in the world are you guys watching from? Comment in the chat and I'll shout you out as we're watching footage. Trying to cheer up a little bit after Facebook, dude. Facebook puts me in a bad mood all the time. LNR video, so that's the Luhansk Republic, the separatist Russian video of LNR video of the fighting in Popasna. Am I right about that? Luhansk Republic. Yeah. Yep, I'm great. Yeah, Luhansk people, the Luhansk Republic. Thank you, Christine. $9.99. We got Dayton Beach, Florida. Wellsville, Ohio. It's not music. It was video. Paramount took me down for video, not music. Denver, Colorado. Chicago, Illinois. St. Louis, Missouri. And YouTube is way better. YouTube is way better for this type of stuff. Anyways, we're fine here. Fort Wayne, Indiana. Sioux Falls. How you doing? Sebring, Florida. Bemidji, Minnesota. Pentwater, Michigan. How you doing, New York? What we got here? Oklahoma's tuned in, 70 degrees Fahrenheit in central Kansas. Chico, California, upstate New York, welcome. Thank you so much for choosing Mercado Media. Catoosa, Oklahoma. Orlando, Florida. Wichita, Kansas is tuned in. St. Louis representing. Hi, Andrew. Thank you for all you do serving our country, following since day one here in Chicago. Thank you so much. Racine, Wisconsin's tuned in. Murray, Kentucky. Welcome, welcome. All right, let's get into it. This is Russian footage, LNR video of the fighting in Popasna. I need to refresh here. Martin, thank you so much.
Город Попасная продолжаются. Подразделения народной...
Let's look up Popasna fast. Take 2 seconds. We get our idea of where this is in the country. Rob was calling it Pop Santa for like 3 weeks. It's in between Luhansk and Donetsk. It's the red marker. Here's Donetsk, here's Luhansk. Severodonetsk, Kramatorsk. Right? Like in the middle of all that. Right in the middle of all that right here in the Donbass.
милиции совместно с вооруженными силами Российской Федерации теснят врага, с боем освобождая улицу за улицей. Стрельба не утихает ни на минуту. Пехота вскрывает огневые точки противника, а тяжелая техника и вооружение оперативно их уничтожает. Противник устраивает укрепленные пункты обороны прямо в жилых домах и приусадебных участках. Это, конечно, замедляет продвижение союзных войск, но никак их не останавливает.
Двигаться приходится буквально огородами разрушенных домовладений. Весь частный сектор здесь усилиями ВСУ. Просто один сплошной.
No translation, so but just look at the visuals.
Укрепрайон. Вот, пожалуйста, позиции, окопы в частном секторе, в жилых домах. Все то, что оставила здесь украинская армия.
Заметив нашу группу, противник пытается накрыть район артиллерией. К счастью, успели добраться до укрытия. Обошлось без потерь.
And red is Russia. Red and white are Russian soldiers. Thank you, Margaret.
Обнаружив скопление пехоты противника, начинает работать АГС, оказывая поддержку штурмующим группам союзных подразделений. Как и в Великую Отечественную войну, военнослужащие народной милиции метр за метром продолжают освобождать родную землю от нацистских оккупантов.
Как когда-то, метр за метром, дом за домом, улица за улицей приходится нашим военнослужащим при огневой поддержке союзных российских войск продвигаться вперед и, соответственно, освобождать родную землю.
That's Popasna. Visuals. This was just posted. Russian forces in Kupiansk with a Brem 1, a Gaz 334420, a Loot 2S3, and a variety of trucks. Might have to look up some of those. In Kupiansk, where's this? This was just posted as I refreshed 28 seconds ago. Let's see where this is. In Kharkiv. This is in the Kharkiv Oblast. Setting up to, this is to the east of Kharkiv. Does it give a direction where they're moving? They're bolstering this area. They're increasing the amount of soldiers. This is their staging area. Get new equipment sent in. That's all in here. Getting equipment repairs. So Russian forces in Kupiansk with a Brem 1, a Gaz 334420, a Loot, a 2S3, and a variety of trucks. promise. 999J. Inside jokes. So I'm guessing the first two vehicles got tracks on them. The first three. And then they got a fuel truck, troop transport vehicle, equipment truck with a Russian flag on it. Another troop transport, equipment truck, troop transport, and that last one looks like troop transport. Let's look at this. What's the gas? 33. Oh, we did look up this one. Yeah, I think we did. Maybe we didn't. Let's look at it anyways. Does this actually get in? These videos don't actually get into it though. Combat approved. This is the all-terrain carriers. Russian all. So this is what we're seeing in this video. This second thing. It's not the first one. It's this right here. Alright. Here's information on what that is. That's 38 minutes long, dude. Goodness. I don't know if we're gonna watch the whole thing.
Держись подальше от торфяных болот, предупреждали сэра Баскервилля. Вообще кинематограф нас учит тому, что болото это такая враждебная для человека субстанция. Вспомнить хотя бы Лизу Бричкину из фильма «А зори здесь тихие». А между тем в нашей армии есть техника, для которой болото такая естественная. Так как для человека земля или для рыбы вода это двухзвенники.
Man, those things can just ride right on in there. You know what? These are going to be crucial in the flooding areas in the season. The season that's kicking off. That I'm sure there's. I mean, they flooded Irpin. Irpin's flooded. That vehicle is gonna come in handy. They can just drive into ponds like that.
Moreover, they can easily cross water, sand, snow, ice, treacherous open water patches in the ice called polnayas, and
Alright, I can't do the voice. Smoked like 10 packs of cigarettes before that one. I just need a... What's a good one? We got the 3344 in this one. Just give us a quick update, huh?
Gas 3344
Okay, that's not good. This is why you don't take dislikes away on YouTube. This is why you don't take them away. Alright, whatever. We'll just watch this one. Watch it get built. Whatever. We'll get a visual update. I don't know what that voice was, but we're not sitting through that. So that's what you're seeing in the video. I wish it would tell us more further information, but it's probably the best we're gonna get. $10 I am in. Thank you, Tracy. Welcome. Hey, Andrew. Love the nightly news and other streams you share with us. As a fellow veteran, I'll continue to support your independent journalism. Thank you, Daniel. Shout out to our veterans in the chat. Veterans check in. Veterans check in. If you ever served in the military, comment your branch, comment your years of service. Thank you to all of our veterans. Match for Jay. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Lisa. I served in the military, U.S. Army, 2012 to 2020. Why are the tracks powered? I wish I would find out more information. Shout out to our amazing veteran community. Can't find. That's not a good one. That's not even the same one. Oh, we tried that already. Like a big Jurassic Park vehicle. That's in Russian. A lot of these videos are not in English. All right, that's enough on that thing. That's the Gaz all-terrain vehicle. It can drive through. We just saw it drive through a pond. Basically, it looks like it can float. So that's in Kharkiv right now. Let's continue on. A Russian Su-25 attack aircraft in Luhansk Oblast. We got U.S. Army 13 Bravo, U.S. Navy 7479. Oh, this is a closer look of that one airplane, the one Su-25 video we were watching, different angle. Popping flares. Yeah, I need to download the extension. Low flying Russia. You saw that video already. Here's another view. The Su-25 attack aircraft in the Donbass. Josh Overholzer, thank you. So these two events look like the same thing, just different views, for sure. Two different videos of it. Continuing on here, we saw that Krasnopol strike. We watched the LNR fighting in Popasna. Scrolling down, what do we got here? Video of a Russian BMP-3 and a T-80 BV tank with TMTK mine rollers in the Popasna area. So more from Popasna. That's in between Luhansk, Donetsk, a little north in this pocket here. Popasna.
Танки Т-80.
There's the mine detector.
Танки Т-80.
Got the cope cage on it. Got the cage on the top. Got the halo cage on there. And T-80 tanks. All right, now here's the aftermath of the cruise missile strike in Kyiv. We saw that. Saw that video of the train. A Russian TOS-1A thermobaric MLRS firing on Ukrainian positions in Advidka. See where this is. All the combat happenings of the day in Donetsk. North of Donetsk. Right in there. Red marker. Red marker on screen. Hey, Gene. pass. What do we got here? Video reportedly from a cemetery in Sevastopol with dozens of graves. There is naval infantry and reconnaissance flag at the end. The Black Sea Fleet's 810th Naval Infantry Brigade, including its reconnaissance unit, has played a key role in Mariupol. Video showing Russian SV air defenses looks like a Tor M1 and a Buk M12 systems with O markers reportedly nearing Lehman. Russian MOD video of a Pantsir S1 air defense system taking part in the war. Alright, that's from Russian Ministry of Defense. A video from Ukraine's 53rd Mechanized Brigade reportedly of a strike on a Russian ammo warehouse. Like the video if you guys haven't, smash that like button. Take time, close the stream out. Another thing too is make sure you guys have live chat turned on. There's 2 chat options for the live chat here. There's a top chat and then there's a live chat. If you want to see everybody's comment, hit live chat. It's in the top left of the chat options. Alright, make sure you're subscribed to the channel as well so you never miss a stream. A compilation of strikes. Ukrainian SSO took credit for destroying that rail bridge near Mariupol. Second half of what video? Oh, here we go. Oh, here we go. Video of Russian naval infantrymen clearing a building in... Okay. Alright, here we go. You guys know what time it is. Time to look at Russian military footage. You guys know what time it is. Here we go. First, we got 2 minutes and 19 seconds and then another 2 minutes and 20 seconds of video to go through. Let's see what we got here. Clearing a building in Mariupol. Here we go.
Только вы втроем работаете и видите друг друга.
Let's watch the second half before we break it down. Oh, there might be a third one. Thank you, Gene, for the super chats. Thank you. What was that? Okay. All right. No, I'll wait. We'll wait.
Сейчас нашел позицию, откуда снайпер работал. Сейчас мы досматриваем эту гостиницу. Сейчас мы досматриваем эту гостиницу, надо передвигаться очень. Они есть на первом, втором этаже, но мы начинаем движение сверху вниз, чтобы они нас не могли засечь. И вот это четко позиция снайпера, поэтому его не было видно и слышно, но попадания его были смертельно опасны.
Welcome, Nat.
Я сначала вышел посмотреть сектор, обнаружил по сектору, что это именно позиция снайпера, а потом, приглядевшись, нашли патроны 7,62. Скорее всего, это автоматчик прикрытия, он вел, прикрывал действия снайпера. Вот. А сам снайпер работал отсюда, потому что сектор потрясающий, узкий, но...
Oh. Okay. So this is the first part of the video from the other day then that we didn't see. So yes, this footage is old. This BTR then drives forward and engages like a random something. They say it's a sniper. You can hear him say sniper frequently. And then there's a team that walks in front of this. Okay. Here's more from that. Oh, this is different. Video of Russian navalmen from Azovstal. Okay. Let's watch all four of them first, and then we'll go into it. Let's watch this one next.
Скажи, Валад, крикни «Парле франце». «Парле франце».
«Парле франце». Бонжорно же есть!
Короче, мы находимся в доме.
Одна часть дома под противником, вторая часть под нами. ТР прикрывает нас от действий противника с Азовстали. В общем, сейчас наш ТР снаружи обрабатывает помещение, где находится противник, чтобы они не перешли в безопасную для сторону, врезаем их автоматом. Предложение сдаться, это прозвучало. На контакт не вышли, сами виноваты.
And then the last one, the second half of it. Finally actually hear some fire in the distance.
Чисто, чисто! Там лестница наверх! Там завал! Вики, огонь!
All right, let's go to the first one. Start here. We'll start here with the first one. Again, like the video if you guys haven't. I'm your host, Andy Mercado from Mercado Media Productions. I am a U.S. Army veteran. I'm not a combat veteran, but I mean, it's been established that even non-combat jobs in the United States military receive more combat training than even the Russian combat units do. So I'm able to even break this shit down. That's sad. If an 88 Mike's able to break this down, that's sad. All right. So right here, right away here, you are hearing some type of fire coming in. They're reacting to it. Guy flinches, so could have been some pop shots. I definitely reacted to it at the beginning. Didn't. One thing too that strikes out to me is, I mean, they're going out into the wide open here. Cameraman's just walking up there. Unless they're just not trained at all in how to clear rooms. This looks like it's for the videos. I mean, you got dude like eyeballing it. What's that? Is that you're eyeballing that room? Looks good. We're good here. Super intense corner turn. Got the super intense corner turn there. But no real investigation. Oh, the cameraman will do it though. There you go. So there's a sniper. That's why they're talking quietly, or at least that's what they're saying. Intense look for the camera. What kind of idiots puts a gigantic RT on the screen? RT. Russia Today does. None of these rooms get cleared, right? They just walked down a whole hallway full of rooms that they haven't been through yet, but they're starting here. Got to be extra quiet. Shh, don't want to alert the enemy. But we're gonna walk past every single room in this hallway and not clear any of them. Shh, let's be quiet. How many rooms are there? One here on the left. Shh, quiet. Oh, there's another one on the right. Walk right past it. I'm receiving orders. The whole thing's fake, y'all. We gotta show you exactly why it's fake, though. You can't just be like, yeah, that's fake propaganda. It's still gotta break it down. Oops. That's 2 more rooms that didn't get cleared. No, 2 more, so that's 2, 4, 6 rooms they just walked past. I guess there's no sniper in those. This next part's my favorite. Right here. They are so acting, dude. Dude just looked right into the camera. His eyeballs looked directly into the camera. Yeah, you picking this up? Come on. Looking right into the camera. You getting this? Yeah. Try not to look into the camera. Try not to. Dude, they must have combat cameramen. Combat cameramen, because their cameramen are clearing more rooms than the soldiers are. Look at this. It's this part. This is one. Rifle up, quick. They're not even, these 2 dudes aren't even paying attention to what's over here. This guy, though. The camera's behind this one, so he's got to play it up a little more. What the fuck was that? Just quickly peek in there real quick. Yeah, it's good. Just eyeballed the rest of it, though. You eyeballed the rest of the side. You got the whole building over here. There's a whole there's a hallway over here, right? Or at least there was one. Oh, I guess that's maybe it's because it's open there. It's because it's blown out. Or there's a room here. I don't know, there could have been someone in there. Maybe not. Not worth investigating. Not worth it. Not worth it. Ain't nothing over there, right? Ain't nothing over there. Let's just check this way. So moving for the camera, dude. Just so moving for the camera. That part's the best. That part's the best right there. Nope, screw that room. Nobody in there. What else we got? This dude was featured in the second parts of this footage that we watched.
Сейчас мы досмотрим эту гостиницу, надо передвигаться очень. Они есть на первом, втором этаже, но мы начинаем движение сверху вниз, чтобы они нас не могли засечь. И вот этот здание его были смертельно опасны.
Cameraman gets to pop his head out. Cameraman out there. This is the sniper building, right? Is this the building with the sniper in it? Damn, that's a damn fine viewpoint of the whole building. Unless the cameraman's doing the Chechen fighter move, and this is how he's got the camera like this, holding it up over the rubble. How the Chechens fire their rifles. There's a looking right at it.
Я сначала вышел посмотреть сектор, обнаружил по сектору, что это именно позиция снайпера, а потом, приглядевшись, нашли патроны 7,62.
I think he was just ducking down behind the rubble, held the camera up over it. Could have been.
Скорее всего, это автоматчик прикрытия, он вел, прикрывал действия снайпера.
Cameraman needs to prove his worth too.
Потому что сектор потрясает.
And then this situation here. Oh, hold on. Oh, whoa, what's that? Now, this situation in the hallway. What is going on here? What are they shooting at here? And why is there nothing being shot back? What's going on here? He's hitting some of the shit in the hallway for sure. You just saw his. Look at that. That's definitely hitting this shit right here. Yep, there's some sparks. I've seen this building so many times, I know my way around. I'm dead.
Скажи, Влад, крикни, parlez français.
Getting rid of the mice.
Бонжорно же есть!
What is this? So dude's just out in the hallway. Looking down the hallway. Quickly. This dude's covered down behind the homie in front of him. He's not really even he's not behind cover at all. He's just behind this guy. This guy's got a cig in his mouth. Chiefing one down. You know what I mean? Chiefing a cig down. Right in the middle. No, there's nobody.
Короче, мы находимся в доме.
Not at all.
Одна часть дома под противником, вторая часть под нами. ТР прикрывает нас от действий противника. В общем, сейчас наш БТР снаружи обрабатывает помещение, где находится противник.
Even the ending of this too, where the beat. Here's more in the hallway. At least he's protecting himself from COVID. This guy's got the Adidas bag. Stolen goods, looted goods. Got the Adidas bag, the Adidas drip on this soldier. All right, got the new Adidas bag on. Wasn't this guy just shooting down the hallway? I don't know what's with the masks. I don't know. Russia plays games with their propaganda all the time. Unless they were using some less than lethals out there, like some tear gas or some shit. What's the common theme with these? Common theme. Where's the return fire? Where's like the one thing we've seen, especially with the Canadian Ukrainian volunteer in his combat footage, is you hear and you see return fire. If they're engaging an enemy in a hallway that tight, especially in this part, especially here, these dudes are getting hit. This dude that's out here smoking a cigarette, look at how many of them are just in the hallway. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're getting hit. They're in the wide open. Especially if they're engaging something that's allegedly right the fuck there that he's shooting at, they're getting shot. If you're engaging an enemy, you're standing here. These dudes are getting dropped in this video. That was a white band in the window. That's a person here. I could just be potato. That looks like a white band and somebody moved there at the end. And then this, I'm trying to figure out where the hell the BTR is. It looks like it's off screen. They're just lighting this building up. They're hitting these. There's rounds going off into the grass over here. Oops. The target gets hit over here. I'm sorry, like I've watched so many of these videos now, and you only hear from the RT videos, from the Russian videos, you only ever hear them engaging. You never hear any like chaos. There's chaos when you're in a firefight. Chaos, shit's going on, return fire. It's just never that. It's just Russia's soldiers engaging something. or a building, or Russian soldiers doing army-looking movements. It's for people that it's for. I don't even know who these are for. Maybe for Russian civilians that are like, oh man, we just have our troops at war. Like, that's basically it, and they just need to pour out these videos, and that's like enough. Or I don't know. It's junk. So we go into those every time that they pop up. All right, the video from the Russian naval infantrymen clearing a building in Mariupol. Those are always interesting to go through. All right, so that's that. Like the video if you guys haven't. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're at an hour in, 2 hours left, or maybe that's where they're doing drills. They think they're training here, and then they're sending after they go through this training in this area, they go to wherever the hell they're going. Like the video, check into the stream, comment where you're tuned in from. You're watching Mercado Media. We're live and covering the war in Ukraine, day 64. Ukrainian forces with a captured here. Hold on, I'm gonna show you just so you guys know. Where is it? Where is he? Ukrainian Canadian volunteer. Where is he? Or is it Canadian Ukrainian? Here. We watched this the other day, but this is just to show you what an actual firefight sounds like. Where he posted it. Did he take it down? No, 15 hours. Oh, he actually has some footage to go through from him. We'll definitely be checking some of his out. He's off still. Did he take it down? I don't think it was that many days ago. Oh, did they take it down already? Anybody have a link to that video? Oh man. But him and his team were they were in a firefight, and he does get hit in the leg, or the video. But you hear the return fire and you actually see the return fire. I think the video got taken down. There is no hiding in the steps. Glory to Ukraine. Dang it. So that video is gone. If you can find it, let me know. Comment in the Discord. Share it to our Discord server. There is no hiding in the steps. Glory to Ukraine. Where are the steps? No hiding in the steps? Where is that in Ukraine? There's a body of water. It's all for the video. They're making videos to make it look like they're engaging a sniper. Life during wartime. Glory to Ukraine. This is again from the Canadian-Ukrainian volunteer. Rob had a clip of it a couple days ago, so you guys saw it then too. But it's not on his Twitter right now.
Ой, доброе утро. Тудущ. Ой, доброе утро.
All right. Continue on. So Mariupol, the bunkers of the Ysabel water is running low. This is in the Ysabel steel factory. Thank you, AZZ. Alaska 509, thank you. Alaska 509 with the share in the Discord server. I don't know why I couldn't find it. So viewer discretion is advised. This is what an actual firefight sounds like in Ukraine. Listen, you can hear the return fire, and I mean he does that. You do see him get hit in the leg. Right there, you saw it. Oh, dude. They have their vans, but what's the common theme there? It wasn't quiet for a single second of that entire 58-second video. It wasn't quiet for a single moment, and they were clearly engaging an enemy. It's no video. In those situations, a cameraman would be a liability. You wouldn't bring a cameraman with you in a firefight, or they'd be like, the cameraman would be like ducked down if they're out there and some shit happens. They wouldn't be like checking rooms and being as engaged as they are in the Russian videos, because that's what they are. They're videos. Somewhere in the Donbass, a destroyed Russian tank. Mel C, thank you so much. Oh, I muted it for music. What is this? A destroyed, looks like a T-72. The defenders of Mariupol in action. I've said it many times before, but I'll say it again. These are giants among men. Is this a compilation? Dang, I need to watch Narcos now. I haven't watched the new season. Why do they use this song though? So a compilation of combat footage from Mariupol with a for sure copyrighted song. Good song. Well, while we're on the topic, let's hop over to a video really quick. Why the Russian Army T-72 tank is worse than you think. Good transition here, a task and purpose video, the newest one. Let's see what he's got to say about the T-72 tank that you guys have been seeing the Russian military use.
Army, I'm your average infantryman, Chris Cappy. So
he's not going to get me on the ads this time.
Russia's most prolific tank, the T-72, get absolutely destroyed in Ukraine. And a lot of people are starting to wonder, what the heck went wrong with this tank? Is it a hardware problem, or was it simply human error? Human error was actually my nickname growing up. In this video, we're going to examine why the Russian armored philosophy hasn't really worked on the modern battlefield and what they could have done to fix it in hindsight. Autoload a shell into your smoothbore cannon, fire off around at that like and subscribe button if you enjoy this video, and let's move out, huh?
Spark one up.
When I'm researching these videos, I run into one problem all the time, where I need to I think
Not
it's
this
safe
time.
to say that the
God, didn't get me that time. I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming.
backbone of the Russian army and their entire doctrine revolves around its tanks, and the most commonly used one is the T-72. So to give the devil his due here, this tank is very fast moving, it's lightweight, and its 125mm cannon gives it incredible firepower. Above all else, this tank is incredibly dirt cheap to produce at only $500,000 compared to the US Abrams $8 million price tag. The T-72 development story It's really emblematic of the Soviet Union's politics that are marred in petty infighting and egregious corruption. The tracked armored vehicle perfectly fits into the Russian military's doctrine of throwing a ton of armored vehicles at the enemy to try to overwhelm them. A strategy that might have been good 50 years ago, but is coming into question today. There are more than 3 times the amount of T-72 tanks than there are US Abrams in the world. The T-72's performance on the battlefield appears to be lackluster at best. It could be operator error, it could be poor training, it could be outdated design.
That's a bad day right there. That's a bad day. At least in the US Army, because again, we don't just leave our equipment out there. In the Army, in the US Army, this is a situation that would have had to have been dealt with. Like, it would have been a long day.
Personally, I think the answer can be discovered if we go back and we look at the old Soviet military doctrine.
We did look up that the United States military has recovered every single one of its Abrams that have been disabled or destroyed. We have not left them anywhere.
From the US Army's official field manual on the Soviet operations and tactics, it says when confronting an enemy that has taken up defensive positions, the Soviets attempt to strike weak points in the defense and drive to the enemy's rear whenever possible by bypassing his major force concentrations. They would strive to develop penetrations leading to the enemy's rear to topple the enemy defensive structure. Tank armies may be placed in the first echelon for attaining greater speed when terrain and other conditions permit this employment. My analysis of this information is that this strategy worked well in the 80s, but now with this 3rd generation anti-tank systems, it no longer holds up.
So let's take a look at the origins of this vehicle in order to find some clues into the past. The beginnings of the T-72 is a development story that is closely tied and interwoven with the very start of Russian tank manufacturing. Since the early days of the Soviet Union, their military has always relied on the fundamentals of simplicity in design and ease of manufacture. It's the core to their engineering philosophy, and it's out of necessity, right? Because when you need to create equipment for millions of troops, you have to do it on the cheap and on the fast. The pros of having these cheap equipment in large numbers really outweighed the cons. The T-72 didn't simply fall out of the sky one day out of the blue. It's based on the predecessor, the T-62 design, which is a line of tanks that evolved over time since World War II. The T-62, created in 1961, was originally made for its increased armor-piercing capability. It was the first to be capable of firing the armor-piercing, fin-stabilized, discarding sabot round. And this new ammo type and cannon had one job and one job only: penetrate that enemy NATO tank armor, and it did it well. But the T-62
So a lot of comments about Afghanistan, because I said we just don't leave equipment like that. So this is about what we left in Afghanistan. Although Banks said there was never a, quote, plan by this administration or the Pentagon to destroy or evacuate any of that equipment, there is evidence that some of both occurred. Though it is certainly fair to debate whether there was enough planning for either. During a news briefing on August 30th, General Kenneth F. McKenzie Jr., commander of the U.S. Central Command, said that the equipment at the airport in Kabul, we brought some of it out and we demilitarized some of it. By demilitarized, he means disabled, and likely means key components were blown up. There were reports of explosions at the airport, which Major General Hank Taylor, the Joint Staff Deputy Director for Regional Operations, described as, quote, controlled detonations. McKenzie said American forces had demilitarized up to 70 MRAPs that will never be used again by anyone, and 27 Humvees that will never be driven again. In addition, there were 73 aircraft on the ramp at the Kabul airport. Those aircraft will never fly again when we left. They'll never be able to be operated by anyone. Most of them were non-mission capable to begin with, but certainly they'll never be flown again. Just before leaving, the military also destroyed a weapon system used to intercept rockets, artillery, and mortars known as a CRAM. CRAMs and several armored vehicles left behind at the U.S. Embassy were also destroyed or rendered inoperable. Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby said the Pentagon has been reallocated and destroying equipment in Afghanistan for several years now. An awful lot of equipment, weapons, and resources were drawn down in the event in the last years and months of previous administration had President Trump's decided to move down to a force of 2,500. That's been going on since I was in, our mission in the Middle East was to bring equipment into Kuwait or bring it to the port to send back home. That was like our whole mission. was moving equipment and vehicles. I don't even know what it looks like today in Kuwait, but there's like football fields lengths of equipment and vehicles and Abrams and MRAPs and Humvees, like just sitting there collecting dust in Kuwait on the base in Arifjan. An awful lot of equipment, weapons, resources were drawn down even in the event in the last years and months of their previous administration, as President Trump decided to move down to a force of 2,500. So there was a lot of retrograde of things up to that point. That continued when Biden took over. After the president's decision in mid-April to complete this drawn down, albeit on an extended timeline, the very big part of the retrograde was the disposition of weapons and equipment and systems and vehicles. Some of them were destroyed, some of them were brought back home, some of them were redeployed into the region. At least 5 military aircraft that were part of the U.S. supplied Afghan Air Force flew to Tajikistan and landed safely. A 6th aircraft, believed to be a Super Tucano propeller attack plane, was shot down in Uzbekistan after it entered the country's airspace without permission. 2 pilots parachuted to safety. Not seeing anything about Abrams, though. Abrams aren't a part of the list of equipment. Alright, let's get back into it. Why the Russian Army T-72 tank is worse than you think.
Had some problems. Its main gun wasn't big enough, so they needed to upgrade to the T-64, which solved as many problems as it created. It was a small tank that had a bunch of mechanical problems with its transmission and its engine and its autoloader. It was an absolute nightmare of a tank. So they began working on the tank that would eventually become the T-72.
Two rival tank teams would end up competing against one another to create the T-72. One team was headed up by Morozov. He was a very famous, legendary tank designer in the Soviet Union who had the backing of the entire government. On the other hand, there was Kartsev, who was younger. He was this enlisted guy who fought in World War II in the trenches. He really had an uphill battle. He was going to have to convince all of the influential people in the Soviet government that his design was the best way to go.
There was political friction at the Russian tank plant, Uralzavgavad, where the changing of the leadership there became a really sticky situation. The old director of the company resigned, and the new director in charge really opposed the entire idea of the T-72 tank that Kartsev was working on. He even called it a strategic mistake. This put Kartsev at odds with the most powerful people in the Soviet tank building world. And when you're up against that kind of bureaucracy, things usually don't work out well for you. In 1964, as Kartsev is trying to build a tank that will beat Morozov's rival tank design, a Soviet official visits Kartsev at his office and warns him that what he's doing is wrong. He accuses Kartsev of scheming and backstabbing by setting up a rival tank option. So he shows off his prototype to the Soviet minister, who is wildly impressed because he sees that Kartsev has solved a lot of the design problems that were plaguing his rival team, Morozov's tank. Kartsev had created an autoloader that worked well, and his engine was more reliable.
That thing's getting destroyed in Ukraine, though, that autoloader. I don't know. That autoloader, I'd rather have a soldier loading it now after watching this war. I think the design for the Abrams is much better.
The Soviet military runs a series of tank tests in front of all the military officials, not just the one who hates Kartsev. At this test, it's plain as day to anyone with eyes that Kartsev's tanks are superior. So he essentially wins and is able to go over the heads of the officials who didn't like him. It was fully adopted in 1973, but Major General Kartsev was dismissed and retired by the state. All of the state prizes and awards for the development of the tank were sent to his opponents instead. It wasn't until after the fall of the Soviet Union that he began to receive some recognition. 3 men who worked with Kartsev, they were the ones that spoke out after the fall of the Soviet Union, and they confirmed stories of Kartsev and how he worked on the T-72 and what really happened. So what was so special about the T-72 that it made it win out above the petty considerations of politics and corruption? It offered a new, larger 125mm main gun that could penetrate US and NATO heavy armor. It used the same base armor composite instead of the older homogeneous cast steel. The vehicle required a smaller 3-man crew as opposed to the traditional 4-man crew thanks to its reliable autoloader. If the autoloader on the T-72 broke down, you could manually crank it by hand. The tank could carry around 40 rounds of ammunition. It weighed 41 tons, with later models rising to around 44 tons. It used a V12 diesel engine with 780 horsepower, and it could reach a top speed of 47 miles per hour. Full production numbers are estimated at around 25,000 units, not including the older models by other countries, which it's estimated to be around 50,000 total units. Well, let's look at a comparison of the T-72 compared to the Abrams.
Look at the size. Hold on. Look at the size difference.
Compared to the Abrams. The T-72 is this tiny little
Steel Justice
thing compared to the massive American tank, as you can see. So why is it that the Soviets decided to design their tank really small like this? In World War II, the Soviets had a lineup of different tanks, including light, medium, and heavy. So the Soviets decided to invest in the light tank philosophy instead, with the T-72, while keeping that larger main gun on it. The lightweight, cheap direction of the T-72 was then closely paired with Soviet tactics. Masses of tanks support advancing infantry.
The biggest advantage here with the T-72 is also kind of its biggest weakness, because this vehicle was designed to be used by a conscript army, so it's supposed to be easy to operate. But its biggest weakness, because I think what went wrong here, is that conscripts cannot pull off sophisticated tank tactics. It's supposed to be easy to maintain, but that's not the case if all of your corrupt generals are stealing the funds that are meant for maintaining the vehicles.
That's why they're terrible. I mean, even when they're not even trained, they're made for a conscript army.
I think the main thing that went wrong with the T-72 isn't so much that they stopped improving on the tank, and more so that the Russian army has clearly failed to invest in the expensive and complicated training necessary to pull off combined operations. Forget about coordinating between the Air Force and the Army. I'm talking about a failure to coordinate between tank units and anti-air units.
Okay, so how did the T-72 fare in combat? Well, during the Cold War, the Soviets were giving out T-72 tanks to everyone and anyone who wanted to get their hands on one of these. Their first use in combat was in the Lebanon War in 1982, and that's where they gained a great reputation. But it was really kind of the last time that we would speak highly of the vehicle. The reason why Russian tanks fell about 10 years behind Western tank technology around this time is because of the fall of the Soviet Union. During the 1990s, the US was focused on improving their tank armor and munitions, while the Russians were focused on trying to prevent total chaos in the wake of their collapse of their form of government. Production of their most modern tank ended in 1992. The last true, brand new Soviet tank design was created over 50 years ago with the T-72. But wait, there's still hope for the T-72. Between 1994 and 1996, during the first Chechen Wars, we got more data on how the T-72 performs in combat. There were 0 penetrations of T-72 frontal armor from man-portable anti-tank weapons. The bad news though, the Russians lost 44 T-72s from Chechen hunter-killer teams armed with RPGs. Analysis shows that between 3 and 6 RPG rounds are required to disable a T-72 from the rear, sides, or top of the tank. That's a lot of RPGs. In theory, the T-72 can penetrate Abrams in certain spots, like in the engine compartment and rear, but probably not the front or the sides. What could have been done in hindsight to fix the T-72, knowing what we know today? How could Russia have tailored their tank developments over the past 2 decades to improve its survivability? An emphasis should have been placed on heavier armor. The T-72 isn't large enough of a platform to support increased armor protection instead of relying on explosive reactive armor.
Cope cages.
More investment in active protection system technology would have improved survivability, but really a complete redesign of the T-72 from the ground up was what was required, because the autoloader, keeping the shell...
This Facebook sucks, this war sucks, buy some coffee or something, thanks, it's my birthday, happy birthday, Raiko, happy birthday.
...in the turret, which if penetrated, will cause a cook-off of the ammunition due to the design placement of ammo in the tank. These are fundamental design problems. Also, you gotta remember, the 50 cal machine gun has a weakness of requiring the commander to expose himself in order to fire it. Could the T-72 have performed much better if the Russian military coordination was an amazing A+ fashion. I mean, what if they had achieved air superiority early in the war and they had communicated perfectly with other ground assets during their advance?
That's a T-72 tank. Went into it. The Ukrainian underground. Oh, that's the video of, if you haven't seen this yet. Ukraine, that's how Ukraine, they have trench systems like under the, yeah. A lot of ambush points. Lots of ambush points. Let's go to the report. Explosions rock Kyiv again as Russians rain fire on Ukraine. Kyiv, Ukraine. Russia pounded targets from practically one end of Ukraine to the other Thursday, including Kyiv, bombarding the city while the head of the United Nations was visiting in the boldest attack on the capital since Moscow's forces retreated weeks ago. So the UN Security General was in Kyiv visiting and seeing and touring the views, if you will, and visiting President Zelensky. And Russia sent a cruise missile. Russia sent a cruise missile there while he was visiting. Let's listen to BBC report.
General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, is in Ukraine visiting towns to the north of the capital, Kyiv, that have been badly damaged during Russia's invasion. He's visiting sites that have experienced Russian attacks and occupation ahead of a meeting with President Zelensky. It's thought they'll discuss how to evacuate hundreds of civilians from a besieged steelworks in the southern port city of Mariupol. So let's take a look at some of today's other developments. In a speech, the UK's...
No, stay on okay, I should have known better. Of course they weren't going to stay on that. Let's go, let's just do this. UN media videos. But first, let's talk about everything else that you guys don't want to hear about. Why do they do that? UN Security, no, Security General. What am I doing? There's no video on him on Twitter getting there? Where's the video of him arriving? Hold on, we need a better one. Antonio Gutierrez. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Please, if you're posting video, post in the videos channel. All right, that's where I look for videos. There's a discussion channel, a video clip channel, a not safe for work graphic video channel, a general links channel, and then UA relief. So.
Unfortunately, when clearing the debris, we recovered 41 bodies. 41. 50% of the buildings were found in this state. Mines, regular shells, landmines.
That's the UN Secretary General in Kyiv visiting. Trying to find videos that aren't going to get taken down.
The Secretary...
That's not the one.
Those destroyed buildings. When I see those destroyed buildings, I must say what I feel. I imagine my family in one of those houses that is now destroyed and black. I see my granddaughters running away in panic part of the family eventually killed. So the war is an absurdity in the 21st century. The war is evil. And when one sees these situations, our heart, of course, stays with the victims, our condolences to their families, but our emotions are, there is no way a war can be acceptable in the 21st century. Look at that. Thank you.
All right. We don't need to listen to the rest of it. This is an interview tonight with the UN Secretary General on his talks with President Zelensky and in his efforts to stop the fighting in Ukraine.
North of here.
Again, this is the UN Secretary General.
Where there are alleged war crimes. You looked like you were pretty shocked by what you saw.
The International Criminal Court is investigating, and I fully support the activity of the International Criminal Court.
Remember the ICC that had to take a coffee break? That said, hey, we need a 10-minute break and stop the Russian or the Ukraine's testimony, like halfway through. So, how confident is anybody with the ICC? Comment in the chat.
I trust them, and I appeal to the Russian Federation to cooperate with the International Criminal Court. It's absolutely essential that wherever there is a violation of international humanitarian law, a violation of human rights law, or war crime, it's absolutely essential that the truth is completely clarified and that those responsible will be punished, that accountability works.
But what were your impressions when you went round those towns today where there has been so much killing of innocent civilians?
What I said when I was there is, I mean, when we feel the emotion of being in a place where people have suffered so much, I felt as if I was imagining my family there. I mean, and how terrible it would be. I think when one works like I do in international organizations, sometimes we are absorbed with numbers, with no, every person matters. And that is what counts, is to be able to support people in distress, to be able to rescue people in distress, and to understand that even if this trip would only have as a result to rescue one person, it would be worthwhile.
All right. It will be. So that's on Antonio Gutierrez. There's also one from the CNN interview, too, with him. Interview tonight with Antonio Gutierrez. Let's check our list. I was pulling up a poll. You're from Kenosha. Welcome. Comment where you guys are tuned in from. Where are you guys watching from? What city? What state? I haven't put one on yet. Oil depot in Kryvyi Donetsk burning this morning after allegedly being struck by Ukrainian fire.
9 апреля 4:20 были прилеты. Вот с улицы Кирова снимаю, ну, Лидевка это. Поселок Шахты Лидевка, с улицы Кирова снимаю, вот в районе, дальше у нас идет следующая Топчиева, это Пулковская, мне кажется, там пожар. То есть за ними уже посадка и нефтебаза. Вот. Ну, подозреваю, что в районе Пулковской были прилеты, и поэтому, скажем так, было возгорание. Слышно, техника там работает, скорее всего, пожарные уже на месте.
This is allegedly happening this morning in Ukraine. It's currently 7:30 in the morning. Just hit 7:30 right now in Ukraine, in Kyiv. You guys check. You got the clock on the right next to me. Where would it be? Right here. Kyiv time. So this is just coming out now. We have a check-in update from John. We haven't looked yet. So who do we got here tuned in? Nano, Wisconsin. We got Tampa, Florida. Tampa, Wisconsin. Tampa, Florida's tuned in. New Zealand's tuned in. Faribault, Minnesota. Florida, welcome. Good to see you. Sweden. Vacaville, California. Walsenburg, Colorado. Hello, how you doing? In Sudbury, Ontario. So oil depot in Kryovsky, Donetsk. Let's check where this is quick. That's not. Whoa. That's not the right spot. That's in Russia. There we go. That's going to be better. To the east, northeast of Donetsk. How you doing? We got Nevada tuned in. Peace and love. Ireland is tuned in. How you doing? Pottstown, Pennsylvania. Sweden and Finland need to join. They know it. It's likely going to be in the middle of May. Hello from Grand Bend, Ontario. Any speculation about Moldova and if Russia has made any attacks there yet? They don't have any. They don't have enough soldiers there. The Transnistria has like a battalion's worth of soldiers. They don't have anything. They don't have enough to even make a significant move. Glasgow, Scotland. Welcome. R.I.P. Scott's British national killed, Scott Sibley. Let's see John's update. Here's my take from day 2 of the 2022 war when I am arrested as a Russian spy. Let's look at his Kyiv diary from day 64 first. All right, here's his update. Orange hats in the chat.
Kyiv diary, day 64 of Vladimir Putin's war. The Russians are making some advances in the Donbass. It's bits and bobs. It's not big stuff. Maybe the Ukrainians are playing the long game. The big question for me is why are so many Russians going along with Vladimir Putin's brutal war? There's a reason for that. They're afraid of being shot or poisoned or being blown up in their own homes in the middle of the night. The latest episode of my podcast, Taking on Putin, is up, and it's called Let's Not Count the Dead, and it's about the Moscow apartment bombs of '99. So what happened was, Putin is promoted prime minister, and he's just a little grey, underwhelming secret policeman in a cheap suit. His approval rating's like 2%. And then suddenly there's a series of bombs in apartment blocks in Moscow and in southern Russia. And Putin says that this is the work of Chechen extremists. Let's get them on the bog. And his approval ratings soar. And he launches the second Chechen war, and he gets the keys to the Kremlin, and he never looks back. Only there's something wrong about the Moscow apartment bombs. One MP announced there had been a bomb in the southern city of Volgodonsk. A bomb did go off in Volgodonsk, but only 3 days later. There was another bomb that didn't go off at all. This was in the city of Ryazan. The local people saw these strangers plant something in the basement of their block of flats. They called the cops. The cops found the stuff was explosive, hexagon. They found the people who planted this. They were FSB, it was sugar, they said. Just an exercise. That was a lie. Vladimir Putin blew up Russia. That's why people are so afraid of him. Check out my podcast, Love from Kyiv.
All right. Let's listen to his update here.
Hey, for Ukraine, for Kyiv, a little bit for me. Quick drink. Oh, thank God for alcohol. Oz, my pal, and I, we went down to the river, the Dnipro. We heard there'd been some fighting. The Russians are there. Take the tube because we can't get a car. Arsenal tube station full of Ukrainians hiding from the Russian army. 2 little kids and a dog. Incredibly sad. It's the 21st century, I can't believe it. We get up, walk along the river. Oz and I split up. I go on the Jeremy Vine show, blah, 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 blah. Oz is ahead of me. I'm carrying on doing videos. Ukrainian soldiers said, stop, stop, stop. And I just say, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm arrested by the Ukrainian army, and they accuse me of being a Russian spy. And I said, just have a look at my Twitter picture, and you'll see, me challenging Vladimir Putin. I am not a Russian spy. Anyway, I was detained. My passport and phone were taken from me. They took me to the Ukrainian intelligence, and eventually they worked it out that I wasn't a Ukrainian spy. Vladimir Putin is driving these people mad. However, I think the person who is in trouble is not President Zelensky of Ukraine. It's not even John Sweeney, who spent an hour or two in the Ukrainian intelligence service headquarters. The person in trouble is Vladimir Putin. He has not sold this war to his people, and I don't like it. And he's not hitting Kyiv with all that he could, because I think he's afraid to do so. So, Vladimir Putin, you're in trouble. Good night.
That's from John. I think he said that was from day 2. People in Moscow set a number of cars with the Z symbol ablaze. Okay. Cars with the Z symbol in Moscow. There's cars that have the Z symbol in Russia. Oh god. Speaking of that, let's there's a video that came out about it. Where is it? Did I close it out already?
On March 5th.
All right. Remember when I said it? Where were we in the stream? Like week 2, when I said that this damn Z was going to become a symbol. Unfortunately, here it is. How Z became Putin's new propaganda meme. Like the video if you guys haven't. This is from Vox.
2022, Russian gymnast Ivan Kuliak stepped on the podium at the International Gymnastics Federation World Cup in Doha, Qatar. He won the bronze medal in the parallel bars. Next to him was Ilya Kuftin, the gold medal winner from Ukraine, and silver medalist Milad Karimi, representing Kazakhstan. The situation was already tense. Russia's invasion of Ukraine had begun just 9 days earlier, and Kuliak decided to show his support for the war by attaching this symbol to his uniform: 3 pieces of white tape, forming the letter Z. By that time, the Z was becoming an obsession in Russia, and a controversial symbol worldwide, as the new way to signal approval for the war and loyalty to Russian President Vladimir Putin. Since the invasion began in late February, the Z has shown up on billboards in St. Petersburg, t-shirt stands in Moscow, auto rallies, and flash mobs created for social media. There's even this photo, posted on the website of a children's cancer hospice, showing sick children organized into the shape outside in the snow. The letter has been used to vandalize the homes of Russians who opposed the war, and is now banned from public display in several countries. So how did this symbol become shorthand for supporting Russian aggression? The letter Z was first spotted in late February 2022, on Russian military equipment gathering at Ukraine's border.
Oh god, and I still remember the chat. And I was just like, what is up with the Z? What is up with the... Just like the red backpack right now that people are trying to figure out. What's up with the Z?
Along with other painted white markings like V and
O. There was other ones too.
At first, what these symbols meant was unclear. Z isn't part of the Cyrillic alphabet, the writing system used in Russia and Ukraine. The Z sound in Cyrillic is written sort of like a 3, and V looks like the Latin letter B. But once the invasion began, most analysts agreed the markings were for tactical purposes, likely to prevent confusion on the battlefield, and potentially denoting where specific forces were attacking from.
There's their indicators, because their military is not up to date. They don't have cross unit or I don't even know how to say it properly, but they can't, there's no communication. There's no net. There's no sipper or nipper. Only some of y'all will know what that means, but there's nothing. They have to communicate and mark vehicles old school, so they chose the Z and the Z, the Eastern Military District.
The Russian military didn't explain what the markings meant until intrigue around them grew online, and people in Russia saw the chance to use the Z as a tool for propaganda.
Weird.
One of the most common ways the letter Z is being given meaning in Russian is by Latinizing it in the Russian word za, which means for, and incorporating it into slogans like
За победу, за президента, за наших. So there was an attempt to fill it.
That's Aglaya Snetkov. She's a lecturer on Russian foreign, security, and domestic policy at University College London.
You increasingly have pictures which are so absurdly staged. It's obviously fake, but it sort of doesn't matter. So the pictures of the kids, for example, who can't even read and write, they obviously have no idea what the Z they're holding means or anything like that, but it sort of almost doesn't matter so long as you throw it out there.
Click on these slogans hashtags.
They use two cans tied together with a string.
Like For Russia and For Peace, and you'll find tens of thousands of posts on Instagram alone. Many of them originating from the Russian Ministry of Defense.
The political technologists in Russia, in Kremlin, and in and around the Ministry of Defense have decided to jump on the opportunity and reinfuse the meaning of those obscure symbols.
Kirill Avramov teaches classes on Russian and Soviet symbolism and propaganda at the University of Texas, Austin. Avramov told me the point of these memes is to turn the Z, and sometimes the V, into something cool. He translated a few of them.
So Patsanov is like a street slang for the boys. And says Sila v pravde, power is in truth, which is actually a quote from a post-Soviet blockbuster. They're picking already familiar slogans to post-Soviet Russians and putting into those visuals, and then
quoting movies, one-letter symbols. Sheesh.
Recreating those in flash mobs, graffiti, and all the way to the presidential administration.
Oh man.
One strategy for turning Z into a patriotic propaganda icon has been connecting it to Russian glory of the past, in particular the Soviet victory in World War II. The Soviet Union suffered devastating losses defending itself against invasion by Nazi Germany.
Yo, did they for real try this shit in the United States with the Q? Yo, they tried it, huh? No cap. They tried the Q in the United States and it didn't go, huh? They tried it. Oh man.
But
it didn't take off. Like I don't think that. I'm hoping the Z doesn't go anywhere either. Honestly, it's just like, how can you commandeer a letter of the alphabet, dude?
Victorious.
You can't
with
commandeer.
the Red Army
can't commandeer a letter of the alphabet.
Fighting its way back to Berlin and defeating Hitler, establishing the Soviet Union as a world superpower. The Great Patriotic War is still a potent symbol of heroism and glory in Russia, and is honored each year on May 9th, or Victory Day, the anniversary of Germany's capitulation, with massive demonstrations of modern military might and remembrance of ancestors who were killed in the war.
The historical trauma is immense in Soviet times. There was a huge sacrifice on the part of the Soviet people, and those are some highly symbolic events.
This ever-present historical awareness makes World War II imagery a direct link to patriotism, and presents the opportunity to connect the nostalgia of Soviet heroism with Russia's current attacks on Ukraine. Take this meme posted to the Russian Ministry of Defense's Instagram on March 4th, 2022, which, as of early April, has over 21,000 likes. It shows a Z superimposed over a black and white photo of Soviet soldiers on one side and a photo of modern Russian soldiers looking back on the other side. The hashtag says heroes. The photo on the left is a famous image from the original Moscow Victory Parade of 1945, celebrating Germany's surrender. It's still the largest parade ever held in Moscow's Red Square, organized by Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin. The image shows Soviet soldiers carrying captured Nazi flags and banners before destroying them, and has been used in Soviet and post-Soviet patriotic propaganda ever since.
So every Russian person would recognize that immediately.
The Z is paired with the slogan "Za Pobyedo," for victory, and is styled in black and orange stripes, which, other than plain white, is the most common way the Z is displayed. The pattern represents the color scheme of the ribbon of St. George, one of Putin's favorite propaganda symbols. Its origins trace back through hundreds of years of Russian history as a symbol of military glory. At the end of World War II, Stalin used the ribbon on a medal awarded to all Soviets who served in the war, including civilians.
The ribbon, which everyone knows is, if you see it, it's the Russian military might, and it's a signifier that you're Russian.
The ribbon of St. George is now handed out every year ahead of Victory Day. And
I'm gonna look up that, hold on. Look, not going anywhere. Ribbon of St. George, let's look at that. Okay. All right, we'll do that. We'll come back after this is over. Learn more about that ribbon.
And is a central emblem of the celebrations.
Invoking the memory of the glorious past in order to play this propaganda trick, right? Equating this war with this one in terms of justness and legitimacy.
Beyond emerging as the new mark of loyalty to Putin, the Z doesn't hold any individual meaning. And that seems to be part of the strategy behind it.
And that, I think, shows the way in which Putin's propaganda sort of works. He throws things out there, sees what lands, and then goes with that.
The symbol just became recognizable. The explanations, which I call post-rationalization, is that this is all planned. The Z's and the V's stand for victory, for Zelensky, for you name it. The advancement of so many alternative explanations adds energy to their state propaganda.
Whether or not any of these explanations end up sticking, the Z's evolution from tanks and trucks to memes, then flash mobs around Russia, to pro-Putin demonstrations around the world, shows that as a symbol's visibility grows, so does its power as a tool for propaganda.
Goes with a lot of things in life too. What does the St. George ribbon mean?
What does?
It's got one. I have more. What?
The Latin letter Z doesn't even appear in
Here you go. Russia's striped Z, why the Kremlin added stripes to the pro-war Z symbol.
Russia's Cyrillic alphabet. But since the start of the war in Ukraine, it's gone from being a mysterious marking on Russian military vehicles to becoming a recognizable...
But it's, why do they keep saying mysterious though? Like, it was found out. It's their Eastern Military District. That's the marking. The Eastern Military District marking was the Z. Or is the Z still. Well, I think they're just throwing it on everything now, honestly.
Mysterious marking on Russian
It wasn't mysterious.
military vehicles to becoming a recognizable pro-war symbol used to express support of President Putin and the Russian military. What's more, the Russian government has begun merging this new symbol with the orange and black stripes of a centuries-old ribbon, a ribbon that has been loaded with military meaning throughout Russian history. So where are these symbols coming from, and how is the Kremlin using them to drum up support for the war? Let's start with the Z. If you look at Russian signage or social media, you'll see it all over the place these days. For example, this Z post from the Russian military's Instagram account appears alongside...
Is it? Do they still have Instagram up? I don't have Instagram saved as a bookmark. I need to. What would it be? I want to find that. Do we have a link to that? Let me see this quick. I'll come back to that.
The Russian word for heroes, with the Z added to the end. Other photos appear to show Russian soldiers flashing the Z with their hands. When President Putin spoke at a rally in March, Z was featured in signs around him that read, "For Russia," and "For a world without Nazism." We'll come back to that Nazism theme in a bit. There are a lot of theories about what the Z means and where it came from. But my colleague Matthew Luxmore, who's studied the use of Russian symbols, says it's very likely that it was just an easy-to-write marking, like a V or an O. Russia used it to identify some of its military equipment, and then it spread.
It does seem like it was kind of bottom up and people started to write Zs on their cars because they wanted to express their support for this campaign. And then very quickly it was seized on by the government.
Now that Z has become a thing, you may notice it written with stripes, like this. And that is not some organic thing. Matthew says that is very intentional.
This really, really works. It resonates people understand it, people have pride in this.
Why are those stripes significant? You have to go back a few centuries to find out. It turns out those stripes go back to the 1700s, at a time when Russia was expanding its empire and seizing parts of what's now modern-day Ukraine. In 1769, Catherine the Great established Russia's highest military honor, the Order of St. George.
The really interesting thing about the order, in addition to its exclusivity, is the ribbon. It's actually a point of some contention among scholars where the ribbon comes from, but it's also the most recognized ribbon, and today used for lots of different, co-opted for lots of different reasons.
History professor Russell Martin says that over time, Russians have used the ribbon of St. George to rally around various military achievements. Most prominently, it's become a symbol of the Soviet victory over the Nazis in World War II, something Russia celebrates with a huge Victory Day parade every May. In recent years, the ribbon has also been used to express support for the 2014 annexation of Crimea from Ukraine and—
Oops, oh dang it, fast forward it, my bad.
Write Zs on their cars because they want to
become a thing, you may notice it written with stripes, like this. And that is not some organic thing. Matthew says that is very intentional.
This really, really
I found it. Pull it up here. Yeah, it is up. Wow, and it's verified. So this is where they do their posting still, because they're not on Twitter. Wow. That's the Z. So they, yeah. Featuring it prominently.
Works. It resonates people understand it, people have pride in this.
Why are those stripes significant? You have to go back a few centuries to find out. It turns out those stripes go back to the 1700s, at a time when Russia was expanding its empire and seizing parts of what's now modern-day Ukraine. In 1769, Catherine the Great established Russia's highest military honor, the Order of St. George.
The really interesting thing about the order, in addition to its exclusivity, is the ribbon. It's actually a point of some contention among scholars where the ribbon comes from, but it's also the most recognized ribbon, and today used for lots of different, co-opted for lots of different reasons.
History professor Russell Martin says that over time, Russians have used the ribbon of St. George to rally around various military achievements. Most prominently, it's become a symbol of the Soviet victory over the Nazis in World War II, something Russia celebrates with a huge Victory Day parade every May. In recent years, the ribbon has also been used to express support for the 2014 annexation of Crimea from Ukraine and Russia's military intervention in the Donbas region.
For some, it's going to have a general patriotic purpose, but for most, and since 2014 especially, it really does have to do with Russia's military greatness. It has association in the past with expansion.
And that's where the ribbon of St. George and the Z come together. Over the years, President Putin and his supporters have seized on this idea that Russia continues to fight Nazism, fascism, and threats from the West. And now, Putin is using this same idea to justify the bloody invasion of Ukraine that's playing out today.
Мною принято решение о проведении специальной военной операции.
They're being ruled, as Putin puts it, by Nazis, neo-Nazis, and fascists. We need to save them from the neo-Nazis. They just don't realize it themselves.
There's no evidence that Ukraine's government is run by neo-Nazis, and Ukraine's president, Volodymyr Zelensky, is Jewish. But as these Russian social media posts show, the Kremlin is clearly merging the new symbol Z with the powerful symbolism of the ribbon of St. George to try to tap into this World War II narrative that Russia must continue to defeat Nazism. that Russia is for victory.
Those two things are being put together to kind of conflate both support for the armed forces and this deep-rooted idea that somehow Russia is waging the same campaign and waged then.
Hiding a message behind another message, or hiding ulterior motives behind something that you could get anybody to, like, any common folk to support. You know, you want to support victory for Russia, right? But they don't know, man. Ulterior motives.
Defending itself rather than invading another country.
Yeah, it's always said it's defending itself, as hard that is to, I guess, believe based on the evidence.
Of course, not everyone buys this argument, and some have likened Russia's Z to the Nazi swastika. For example, Ukraine's defense minister posted this photo on Twitter, showing a swastika-like symbol formed by two Zs. And other comparisons of the Z and the swastika have been photographed around the world in recent weeks. Now that the Z has been embraced by the Russian government, Ukraine's foreign minister is calling on all states to criminalize the use of Z as a way to publicly support the war. Speaking of
okay, so that's the state of that symbol in the war in the country. I was trying to find and see if that account was legitimate on there, or if it's still up on Instagram. It still is. Let's look at this video that I had found, and this was sent to our Discord server. And again, guys, welcome to Mercado Media Productions. I'm Andrew Mercado, your host of this night of covering the war in Ukraine. Information's getting tight coming out, so we don't have as much breaking news to cover as we can, but there are videos that provide supplemental commentary to the current events that are going on and provide us some more context and insight into the happenings. So this is a video, How Does Ukraine Keep Intercepting Russian Military Communications, by Warthog Defense. And not just Ukraine, how did the normal people and how did the world intercept their comms? Because we were sitting and listening to Russian comms too.
Russia is regarded as one of the world's most advanced countries when it comes to anything and everything related to spying, and that includes secretive, high-tech military communications. For Russian leader Vladimir Putin, a former intelligence officer, this is a particular point of pride. Yet Russia's reputation has taken a major blow with the often bumbling way the military has handled communications in Ukraine. Here's a look at how the Ukrainians have effectively countered the Russians on multiple fronts. Ukraine feels there are huge public relations benefits in releasing intercepted material that's either embarrassing to Russia or points to Russian wrongdoing, possibly even atrocities. Ukraine's military intelligence recently put out audio on social media, saying that as two Russian military members were speaking, one called for Ukrainian prisoners of war to be killed. Keep the most senior among them and let the rest go forever. Let them go forever, damn it, so that no one will ever see them again, including relatives, a voice says on the tape. But collectively, the ongoing stream of audio released by the Ukrainian government and military points to Ukraine's sustained ability to intercept Russian military communications. While the public releases are limited, military analysts say the Ukrainians are certainly capturing additional calls that provide important battlefield intelligence, which is not being shared publicly. The Ukrainians are probably intercepting these calls in several ways. But at the most basic level, some Russian troops have apparently been far too casual in their communications. The Russians brought their own cell phones into Ukraine. When the Ukrainians figured this out, they cut off Russian phone numbers from the Ukrainian network, so the Russian phones stopped working. Russian troops then began seizing cell phones from Ukrainian civilians, according to Ukraine's State Service of Special Communications and Information Protection. We call on Ukrainians whose mobile phones were taken away by representatives of enemy troops to inform the operator as soon as possible, the Ukrainian agency said in a statement last month. Ukrainian civilians have complied, and this let the Ukrainian government know which phones were stolen by the Russians, and effectively became listening devices for the Ukrainians. Dmitry Alperovich, a cyber expert who heads the Silverado Policy Accelerator, says this is just one way the Ukrainians are tapping into Russian communications. The overall result, he said, has been a huge Ukrainian advantage in intelligence. The intercepted phone calls are just invaluable in getting a sense into what the Russians are thinking, the state of their morale, said Alperovich. There was an intercepted phone call where the Russian officer was saying how half of his troops have frostbite on their feet, how they don't have any hot stoves for food, they are sleeping in trenches. If this has been happening since the beginning of the war, why can't the Russians figure out how to prevent it? This has been a real mystery, especially since the Russians have a long history of having strong military intelligence and communications. The Russians have a modern, secure radio system for the military. Russian intelligence has been extremely active in Ukraine for years, but Russia has so far squandered these advantages, according to military analysts. Inexplicably, the analysts say Russia has used basic, off-the-shelf, unencrypted radio communications in many cases that made it relatively easy for the Ukrainians and others to listen in. Also, it's not clear why Russia hasn't simply bombed Ukrainian communications networks to rubble. Russia expected a quick and easy takeover of Ukraine, and there's been speculation that Moscow wanted to keep the phone system, the railways, the electric power grid, and other infrastructure in place so Russian forces could use it. And no doubt Russia is also tapping into Ukrainian communications and would like to continue these operations. But whatever the reasons, Ukrainians' phones and internet systems are functioning in most places, in contrast to what was predicted before the war. The Ukrainians are getting significant intelligence help from the United States and other NATO countries, according to US officials. Most of this assistance remains secret, but some is easily visible on social media. If you look at the flight radar right now, almost constantly, you see US Air Force planes that are flying near the Ukrainian border, collecting intelligence, said Alperovich. The US planes are not entering Ukrainian airspace, but are nearby over the skies of Poland, Romania, and elsewhere in the region. I'm sure that they are collecting radio communications and other forms of intelligence that they then pass on to the Ukrainians that is invaluable in their prosecution of this fight, said Alperovich.
All right. How Ukraine keeps intercepting military comms. Another video I found. So this is from Gravitas. So we watched her explanation on Palki Sharma. All right. This is from Gravitas. Who is winning the war in Ukraine? Again, breaking news coverage coming out it's tough to cover breaking news that we can. So it's a lot of recap and then video that our Discord server shares, and then I find during the daytime that's good supplement to the information we're receiving. And even here now, drone images show extensive damage at a residential complex in the Ukrainian town of Irpin. So we're getting here. Let's check this out really quick before we do Palki Sharma. Drone images show extensive damage at a residential complex in the Ukrainian town of Irpin, close to the capital Kyiv. New video coming out from Irpin. Satellite city to the northwest of the capital city of Kyiv. What was that? There's a voice there. Thanks, Elizabeth. You can see the burnt and charred apartment buildings. No, nothing from Speak the Truth. He posted a combat footage compilation or reactions. Nothing though, nothing military moves wise. That's the newest footage. Let's just scroll really quick. It's now 8 a.m. and the sun has risen on the 64th day of the Russian invasion of the capital city of Kyiv. It has been more than 2 months, yet Ukraine lives to fight on. Glory to Ukraine. Wouldn't it technically be the 65th day now, though, for Ukraine? Air raid sirens in all the cities and towns of the Sumy region. Sumy Oblast sirens. What do we got here? Central Military District Commander Colonel General Alexander Lapin awarded soldiers for their actions in Ukraine. Note the O patch on his helmet as well as one on a soldier's plate carrier. So, Central Military District Commander Colonel General Alexander Lapin. Russian military. There's this. What is it? The Saint. What's it called? Saint David? Dude, I already forgot what it's called. The ribbon of Saint George. You got the ribbon of Saint George on right there.
Именно благодаря вашему мужеству и отваге мы одержали сегодняшнюю победу. Награжден орденом мужества. Хороший, достойный. Знак за особой заслуги Центрального военного округа.
Спасибо, поздравляю. Спасибо, поздравляю. Спасибо, поздравляю. Спасибо. Спасибо. Поздравляю. Спасибо. За сегодняшнюю победу.
Handing out awards to Russian soldiers. We got an intelligence update from the Ministry of Defense of the United Kingdom. The Battle of Donbass remains Russia's main strategic focus in order to achieve its stated aim of securing control over the Donetsk and Luhansk oblasts. In these oblasts, fighting has been particularly heavy around Lysychansk and Severodonetsk, with an attempted advance south from Izium towards Sloviansk. Due to strong Ukrainian resistance, Russian territorial gains have been limited and achieved at significant cost to Russian forces. So they're losing lots of their men. They're gaining limited territorial grounds, and the territory that they are gaining, they're taking significant losses doing so. So that's an update from the United Kingdom intelligence. Now let's check, since while it's on my mind, let's get that out. Update from Palki Sharma and Gravitas, who is winning the war in Ukraine. Let's check this out.
Which brings us to the important question, what's happening in that war in Ukraine? Who is winning it? Well, frankly, it's a hard one to answer, because Russia is not winning and neither is Ukraine.
Go ahead and everybody say hey in the chat. Everybody drop a hey in the chat and comment how you're doing. All right. Hey,
sort of like a stalemate.
Also, make sure you like the video and you're subscribed to the channel.
For Ukraine, this is a massive achievement. Do you remember the predictions before the invasion? Ukraine stands no chance, said the world. Russia will topple Kyiv in days. Well, it's been more than 60 days and Kyiv is still standing. But at what cost? The answer depends on who you ask. Ukraine says it has lost around 3,000 soldiers. Russia says the toll is higher than 14,000. What about Russian casualties? Again, depends on who you ask. NATO estimates up to 15,000 Russian losses. But Moscow's latest report only admits 1,300 deaths. What has all this needless bloodshed achieved then? Let me pull up the map for you. You see the area in red. It is controlled by Russia. They have made important gains in the south and the east. But Putin will not be happy, at least not 100%, because Russia's military superiority is not coming through, which is why he's changed strategy. In early April, Russian forces withdrew from around Kyiv. They pulled back into Belarus and Western Russia. The new plan is this: focus on the east and the south, possibly occupy the whole of Donbass. And what's the situation there in Donbass? Again, hard to say. The West says there is strong resistance to Russia, that progress is slow and costly. Others say Russia is making swift gains, that Russian positions are strategically superior. If that's the case, why did Putin pull back from the north? Why did he abandon Chernobyl or Hostomel? Perhaps it was a ruse. Well, that's what another theory says. When Russia attacked the north, Ukrainian troops from the east rushed to Kyiv. Defending the capital was priority number one for them, and that left Donbass and the south poorly.
Look at that, really quick. That's the mall in Kyiv. I remember that day when that got hit. Thank you, Lisa. That's the cleanup after the mall.
Defended. Another theory is this, that all of this was a Western trap set for Putin. He was led to believe that Ukraine could be conquered, that his military was superior. And clearly that's not the case. Maybe the attack on Kyiv was a ruse. But you cannot deny the hardware failures, the destroyed tanks, the sunken warships. None of that was fake. These comments by Pentagon Chief Lloyd Austin strengthen this theory. Listen to what he said.
And so we would like to make sure, again, that they don't have the same type of capability to bully their neighbors that we saw at the outset of this conflict.
But Putin is resolute. He says every single objective of the Russian invasion will be completed, what he calls demilitarization and denazification.
I want to emphasize that all the tasks of the special military operation we are conducting in the Donbas and Ukraine, launched on February 24, will be unconditionally fulfilled to guarantee peace and security in the historical perspective for the residents of the People's Republics of Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics, Russian Crimea, and the entirety of our country.
Apparently, there's a timetable too. The 9th of May. By then, Putin wants to declare some kind of victory, at least in the Donbas. But what's so special about May the 9th? It's Victory Day. On this day in 1945, Nazi Germany surrendered. The Allies, including Soviet Union, won the Second World War. This year, Putin is planning a massive parade. He's hoping by then Russia will have occupied Donbas. Reports say Russia is racing to meet this deadline. They're deploying more soldiers, intensifying aerial attacks. So Ukraine's allies are responding in kind. Germany, for instance, Germany has signaled a major policy shift. They will send heavy weaponry to Ukraine. Now this is big for Berlin.
Yep.
Since World War II, they think twice before sending military aid to anyone. Remember, they sent helmets before the invasion to Ukraine and made a joke of themselves. But Putin's war has changed their attitude. Germany will send heavy weapons to Ukraine now. This includes air defense systems, tanks, and armored vehicles. So both sides are rebuilding and preparing for the next phase. Where does that leave peace, though? This week, the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres made an attempt. He visited Vladimir Putin in Moscow. Another hilariously long table was set for him. But beyond that, nothing happened. Putin is blaming Ukraine for delaying the talks. After Moscow, Guterres flew to Ukraine. He visited the city of Bucha, the site of the alleged war crimes by Russia. The UN chief appreciated the International Criminal Court's investigation. He also asked Moscow to cooperate.
I fully support the International Criminal Court and I appeal to the Russian Federation to accept to cooperate with the International Criminal Court. But when we talk about war crimes, we cannot forget that the worst of crimes is war itself.
Well, I wouldn't bet on that. As this war drags on, both sides will change strategy. Russia will get impatient, so chances are they will increase their attacks. The West, on the other hand, will sense an opportunity. You already heard what Lloyd Austin said. He wants to weaken Russia. But where does all of this leave Ukraine? Well, back to square one. A pawn for the West, a prize for Russia. WION is now...
A pawn for the West, a prize for Russia. So, Palky laying it out how it is.
The advisor to the president.
So it's shared into our Discord. This guy is... No, I don't know what this is. Let's do 1420. Latest 1420 video. We can look up Bo too. I watched a Bo video. Let's talk about 4 developments in Ukraine. Let's listen to Bo's from the 5th column. Haven't seen one of his videos in a little bit. 4 developments in Ukraine. This was posted yesterday.
Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So today we're going to talk about 4 developments that are definitely worth noting in Ukraine at this time. The first is that Russia has cut off natural gas to Poland and Bulgaria. Now, Poland has reportedly supplied tanks, allowed tanks to migrate to Ukraine, and they have also imposed sanctions. Bulgaria has been less active. However, they are allowing an outpost to be used for Western fighters, Western jets. Now, the actual impact of this, it's going to be price fluctuations, not shortages. Poland has been preparing for this and has infrastructure of its own. And most importantly, it's almost May. Natural gas isn't going to be used quite as much. There will probably... This gap will probably be filled by alternate suppliers. Probably not going to be a huge thing. Now, in Kherson, there is concern about a Russian referendum that they're going to basically put out a fake vote. and say that this area wants to become an independent republic. It's worth noting this area has tons of partisan activity. This is not a pro-Russian area. If there is a vote, Russia has not announced one, but if there is a vote, it would not be likely that it would go in Russia's favor if it was free. I mean, this is part of that thick contested rear that Russia is having to contend with. Russia has a history of running fake referendums. But again, no announcement on that from Russia yet. It still seems to be speculation and worry from the government in Ukraine. The Eastern Offensive. Russia is starting to make small gains. They're not large enough to show the logistical issues yet, and that's kind of what a lot of people are waiting on, to see if they'll actually be able to proceed with this offensive. The gains they have made aren't really long enough to stretch the lines to show any logistical problems that they might still have. And then there's one piece.
They've done a fake vote already, though. Russia has done this a few times now. This is what they do. I shouldn't say like a few times. Like, this is what they do. They did it here in Luhansk. They did it here in Donetsk. They did it in Crimea. They're gonna attempt it, and they're trying to do it in Kherson. They're trying to. They're gonna do that with all these major. They're gonna try to do that with all these major cities down here. Hold elections, and then implant the government.
Piece of bad news. A Russian cyber offensive was able to collect a bunch of information about vehicular insurance. That is bad news for the partisans. They're going to have to take a lot more precautions. This information will allow Russia to tie a vehicle to a person and an address. So that means that the partisans will now have to start switching out tags and making sure that the tag they obtain to put on the vehicle they're going to use is of the same make and model, or they'll have to start borrowing vehicles. They're not going to be able to use those that are linked to anybody that is sympathetic to the resistance there. That is going to complicate things. So these are the developments that have occurred over the last 48 hours or so.
It's from Bo the Fifth Column. Make sure you guys go subscribe to his channel, like his original videos. Another one shared to our Discord server.
Over the last week,
is Transnistria Putin's next target? Too long didn't read news. Too long didn't read news. We're on a rapid fire. Thank you guys again. Join our Discord server. You guys can find all these videos that are being shared. But thank you again for supporting Mercado Media. We'll go back over any latest breaking news that's happening after this one. So again, like the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, have your notification bell turned on so you guys never miss a stream. Too long didn't read news. Is Transnistria Putin's next target?
Week or so, there have been a
let's look at it on the map really quick. No, they don't even have it marked on Google Maps. Here it is. It's in the red. Transnistria, the breakaway region of Moldova.
Series of unexplained explosions in Transnistria, a breakaway region.
Transnistria, goodness, there it is. Transnistria.
In eastern Moldova, run by Russian-backed separatists that borders western Ukraine. Russian politicians have subsequently blamed Ukraine for the violence, and Russian state media has already called for Russian intervention in Transnistria to try and protect its ethnic Russian population. So in this video, we're going to take a look at whether Russia actually will claim Transnistria, and if it does, what might happen next. We actually first discussed this story in Tuesday's daily briefing. That's the show where we go through the 5 most important news stories each day, giving you a rundown of everything you need to know around the world in a matter of minutes. Watch on the separate TLDR Daily YouTube channel. Did a full video on Transnistria, a Transnistria Union in late night from Moldova proper since the collapse of the Soviet Union. In late 1989, after the Moldovan SSR declared the official language to be Moldovan, ethnic Russians in Moldova massed in Transnistria, and a year later declared themselves a separate Soviet republic, called the Pridnestrovian Moldovan Soviet Socialist Republic. Gorbachev, however, annulled the declaration, so when the Soviet Union collapsed, Moldova claimed Transnistria as part of Moldova, but the Transnistrians, unsurprisingly, didn't agree, and a war broke out. Since then, little progress has been made. Moldova still claims
the big part of that we learned, though, about that when they fought over it, was that Russia, along with Ukraine's far-right, their far-right militias, fought with Transnistria together. Like, Transnistria, Ukraine's far-right militia, and Russia all fought Moldova to get that piece of land. Wild.
Since then, little progress has been made. Moldova still claims Transnistria as its own, but Transnistria essentially acts as an independent separate state, with its own currency, passport, and parliament. While Russia, like most of the international community, doesn't formally recognize Transnistria's independence, it does maintain special relations with the region. Russia is Transnistria's biggest export market, and since 2005, Russia has provided free gas to the region, while also providing pensions to about 150,000 Transnistrians. Russia also maintains a permanent military presence in the region of about 1,500 peacekeepers, and performs regular military exercises, which Russia claims are about maintaining stability in the region. Russia even opened a consulate there in 2012, despite the complaints of the Moldovan government. Not that the local people likely care, because a massive majority of Transnistrians reject Moldova and favour accession into Russia proper. In fact, a 2006 referendum found that 98% of Transnistrians were in favour of potential future accession into Russia, and every Transnistrian leader since the Soviet Union has expressed support for eventual Russian accession. So you get the idea. Transnistria is a pro-Russian separatist state with special economic, military, and political relations with Russia. So perhaps it's unsurprising that since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, many analysts have expressed concerns that Transnistria could be Putin's next target.
Dude, how much do analysts get paid? Because that sounds like a common sense job now. Like, analysts, for like they did this in Moldova, in what, 89, right? Or what the fuck? What year was it again? Help.
And a year later, declared to be Moldovan, ethnic Russians in Moldova massed in Transnistria, and a year later...
Oh, damn it. What year was it? Shoot. Whatever. They did the same thing. They did the same thing here, right? And took a piece of Moldova, and they're doing the same exact shit in Ukraine. Here. Crimea. Perfect example, right? Did it there. Luhansk and Donetsk. Perfect example. They did it here too, right? They're working to do it in Kherson right now, as we're sitting here covering it. Every day they're working to get Kherson on the same page as Crimea and Luhansk and Donetsk. 1992, thank you. That was the year. Thank you. Goodness. It doesn't take 1989. That's I was right. 89. And then the war was in 92.
With its own currency, passport, and parliament. Free gas to the region, while also providing pensions, military, and political relations with Russia. So perhaps it's unsurprising that since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, many analysts have expressed concerns that Transnistria could be Putin's next target. And while things have definitely escalated recently, a Russian invasion of Moldova was always on the card. After all, Transnistria is like Donbass in many respects. It's a pro-Russian separatist state with a permanent Russian military presence, about which Russia has expressed concerns about the cultural oppression of ethnic Russians. So it certainly looks pretty similar. And only last year, the Moldovan Supreme Court struck down a language law passed by pro-Russian Moldovan MPs, giving the Russian language special status. And last week, the Moldovan Parliament passed a law banning the orange and black striped ribbons of St. George, often used by Russia as a way to show public support for the government and the military.
Damn, there's some shit. So it's brewing in Moldova. Are they going to do the same thing in Moldova that they're doing in Ukraine? They don't have enough people to do that.
As well as the pro-war Z symbol. It's not just this though. Annexation of Transnistria would be consistent with Putin's new Russia policy, a historical region that apparently informs Putin's imperial ambitions. And in fact,
you think they're going to be able to do this in the United States? Oh god, dude. I've had too many safety meetings tonight. Are they going to do this at the United States and how like the South? Dude. Alright, keep going.
Informs Putin's imperial ambitions. And in fact, you might even remember that in early March, Belarusian President Lukashenko presented a map indicating that Russia would be launching an offensive against Ukraine from Transnistria, suggesting that Transnistria was always meant to play a role in this war. At the time, Belarusian officials claimed this was just a mistake, and no offensive has been staged from Transnistria just yet, but things certainly have heated up in the last few days. That's because in mid-April, after Lavrov announced that Russia had begun, quote, Phase 2 of the special military operation, a senior Russian commander said that the goal of Russia's new offensive was to seize control of southern Ukraine and gain access to Transnistria. And another military official raised the issue of oppression of Russian speakers in Transnistria, in the context of Russia's military campaign in Ukraine. Then, on Monday, talk turned to action, with Transnistria's state security ministry in Tiraspol being shelled by a grenade launcher. Then, a day later, on Tuesday, there are explosions at 2 radio towers broadcasting Russian state media. The same day, Russia launched a missile strike against a bridge connecting Odessa and neighbouring Romania, presumably in order to limit Ukraine's ability to defend against an attack launched from Transnistria. And there are even reports that Transnistrians have received texts claiming that Russia was invading Transnistria, which was strenuously denied by Ukraine. Anyway, both Transnistria and Russia have blamed Ukraine for the violence.
No, I'm not talking like... So the reason I said that is people are believing Russia's propaganda. You can't even lie about it. And I said the United States because there's people that are eating up the Russian propaganda and believe it. And then they act on it too. And their policies and shit are very similar to Russia. So when I said that, like, are they going to do this in the United States? I had like a moment where I'm like, I've seen what Russia's doing to Ukraine, what they did to Moldova, and I'm concerned. That's all that was. So and people are believing the Russian propaganda from within. It's not like Russia's military are going to do anything. Russia's military doesn't have to do anything. Their propaganda is doing the work for them.
Wednesday, Transnistria accused Russian security forces of drone attacks against the country. In reaction, Transnistria declared a red level of terror threat for 15 days, as well as stepping up security checks on roads and on its frontier with Moldova, and cancelling a parade which was set to commemorate their World War II victory on May 9th. A Russian state media outlet subsequently published an article claiming that the West was trying to destroy Moldova, and a Russian tabloid claimed that the US was trying to open a second front in Transnistria to help Ukraine. Unsurprisingly, Ukraine denied responsibility for the attacks, and Moldova blamed it on internal factions within Transnistria, who disagree over the war with Ukraine. In reaction to all of this, though, Moldova held its own Security Council meeting on Tuesday, where they agreed to step up patrols and vehicle checks near the buffer zone with Transnistria, as well as imposing regular security checks on critical infrastructure. You get the idea then. There's been a notable uptick in violence in Transnistria just a few days after Russian military officials started talking about the oppression of its local Russian population and the possibility of a land bridge into the region. Which is why many analysts have started warning about the possibility of either Russian forces using Transnistria to attack Odessa from the west, or even claiming Transnistria as part of the Russian Federation. If either of these things happened, it would almost certainly provoke a reaction from Moldova. And this is particularly worrying because, well, this could in turn require a reaction from Romania, a NATO member. Romania and Moldova have an exceptionally close relationship, considering that they've been in an on and off political union since the 19th century. Many Moldovans even hold dual citizenship, and Romanians and Moldovans share common traditions, cultures, and even often languages. Now, we should say at this point that we think that a Russian intervention in Transnistria is unlikely. Russia's deputy foreign minister said on Tuesday that Russia would like to avoid a scenario in which Transnistria is dragged into the war, and the Russian army would probably struggle to do it even if they wanted to, given the number of Ukrainian forces in the east and Moldovan forces in the north.
Well, that just tells me that's exactly what they're planning to do then. They don't tell the truth at all.
The Russian army has also faced myriad logistical issues throughout the war, and it's hard to see how they'd supply a force in Transnistria with no direct land bridge from Russia. Nonetheless, similar reasoning also applied to Ukraine, and Russia still ended up invading.
That's what I'm saying.
And it's possible that Putin will set his sights on a weaker opposition, like Moldova or Transnistria, if he can't win in Ukraine, but still needs to claim some sort of military victory. All in all, Russian intervention in Transnistria has a non-zero probability, and this should probably worry, well, everyone, because it could end up involving a NATO member state. Anyway, if you want to be up...
Things to think about. Increased activities in Moldova. Pretty good analysis there. Things to chew on, think about, keep digesting. You got to keep digesting the news, the articles, read movements, see what's going on. Let's continue on. Let's actually Google the latest in Moldova here. Sky News, attacks in contested region of Transnistria raise fears of Ukraine war spreading. No one claimed responsibility for the reports of explosions in Transnistria this week. 3 days of alleged attacks in contested area Moldova are facing fears that the conflict in Ukraine may be spreading over the border. There have been reports of explosions and shots fired in Transnistria, a Russian-backed breakaway territory in Moldova. The incidents are said to have happened in Tiraspol, Mayak, and Parkani, and Kobasna, right inside of Transnistria. Well, no one has claimed responsibility for the attacks. Pro-Russian separatists have pointed the finger at Ukraine, while Moldova's pro-Western government accused those within Transnistria of trying to destabilize the situation. Transnistria, with a population of about 470,000 people, has been under the control of separatist authorities since a 1992 war with Moldova. It is home to a regiment of about 1,000 Russian soldiers. The region's independence is not recognized by the pro-Western government of Moldova or the international community. On Monday, the Transnistrian authorities said an explosion was reported at the state's security headquarters in Tiraspol, the region's main city. Photos shared on Twitter, the Ministry of Internal Affairs show emergency services at the scene. Smoke can be seen coming from the building's broken windows. Local news reporter First Transnistria published the watermark footage of the CCTV attack. Apparently, I'm not able to see it. Accept all. Okay, I guess I can't. They have it censored here. Let's check the latest. How's everybody doing? Like the video if you haven't. Russian trucks carrying 200s from Kherson to Crimea. That's a lot of bodies. Carrying 200s. Vehicles moving back into Crimea. Aftermath of Russian shelling in the towns of Vikla, Kostromolka, Mariupol. Thank you so much. We just want somebody to love. Thank you, Andrew. Aftermath photos. Oh, went through that video. That. Do the gravitas video. That. Saving that for the end. See a crater in the. We saw that handing out medals. Here's a MOD video. Video of a Russian Ka-52 helicopter firing rockets into the air. It's a Ka-52 alligator. This is definitely Russian footage. 200 is Russian code for KIA. Thank you for letting me know that. Saw that. Ka-52 helicopter. Oil depot burns in Donetsk.
29 апреля 4
Got an oil depot on fire.
были прилеты. Вот с улицы Кирова снимаю. Ну, Лидевка это. Поселок Шахты Лидевка, с улицы Кирова снимаю. Вот в районе. Дальше у нас идет следующая Топчиева, а это Пулковская. Мне кажется.
Were you guys posting? You're saying you're posting videos. There's a Ukraine war section, and where are you guys posting? Oh, you're posting in the, all right, so expand the, hold on, I'll show you. Hold on. Really quick. Move that over here. So this is where you guys post in the Discord for videos that I pull up. I'll show you. Alright, here's what Discord looks like. Okay, it's going to be on the left panel. There's a whole Ukraine war section. It might be collapsed. You're going to have to open that. And there's a video clips right here. Oh, the Real Hood just posted it. Roman. We're going to watch 1420 likely first. But join our Discord server. This is what it looks like. There's the general community channels. There's a gaming channel, snacks channel, you know, news channel for just news around the world. Anything you guys got? Like there's the Derek Chauvin update for Minneapolis here. But we have a whole Ukraine war discussion, video clips, a not safe for work video channel feed for like combat footage, general links, which try to limit the videos and keep the videos in the video channel, y'all. Post just articles here. This is supposed to be for articles. And then the relief channel too. That's to post relief, any relief efforts that we can give out to, or we can find for Ukraine. So that's the Discord server. Join that. Link is in the description if you haven't done so. Thank you to everybody that's joined our Discord. Russian state TV keeps threatening nuclear strikes against Western nations, desperately trying to deter them from continuing to help Ukraine. On a side note, this is the first state TV host who doesn't seem to be eager to die for the motherland, arguing with a trigger-happy lawmaker. Interesting. Let's watch. They're going to have the subtitles on the bottom. This is Russian state TV.
Формат и все. Были британские острова, нет
Но мы же
британских.
серьезные люди.
Не, а вот я и серьезно и говорю. Ну, слушайте, они нас обвиняют в государственном
Великобритания
терроризме.
тоже располагает ядерным вооружением, Алексей Александрович.
Я
В
прекрасно,
этой войне не
я
выживет
прекрасно
никто. Когда вы
понимаю.
говорите удар Сармата, вы понимаете, что никого не будет. Никого на планете.
Ну, никого, никогда не
Начнем
говорим
сначала.
никогда. Да, никогда
С
не
чистого
говорим
листа.
никогда. Но если уж мы говорим о таких вооружениях, то есть вопрос в том, что ее еще нужно избить, попытаться. Это не сбиваемая ракета. То, что у них, он говорит, у нас это ограничено, у нас есть чем сбивать. Посмотрим.
Нет еще сарматов в Калининграде. Посчитали, что от Калининграда до Берлина 106 секунд, от Калининграда до Парижа 200 секунд. Вас интересует Лондон,
Вот.
202 секунды.
Вот, я про это. Поэтому им эту картинку надо тоже показывать. Знаете, ребят, вот смотрите, ну хорошо, вы придете, вот вам картинка. Считайте посекундно. Что ты успеешь? Куда? Все, здравствуйте, пролетело. Ну-ка, а так надо? Ну пускай думает. Секундомер ему дать надо, 200 секунд отсчитать. Ну да, вот так надо с ними. По-другому никак. Они не понимают.
Wow. So that's coming from Russian state TV. They got a Russian media monitor watching
Один
the.
Сармат и
So they got some people that are just openly like, let's just launch nukes. That they're having as their hosts on their state TV channels. They're just like, we're just gonna start saying, yeah, we're sending nukes. Here's the update from Associated Press. Russia bombs Ukraine capital during UN visit. So this happened, this would have been Thursday during the daytime, Thursday morning into Thursday day. It's currently Friday. Free zone. Thank you so much. Hey, sorry about the whole Facebook thing, sending you support. We'll talk about Facebook at the end here. But yeah, Facebook, I'm completely demonetized right now on the Facebook platform. So we'll talk about that at the end. The attack happened while the head of the United Nations was visiting. It was the boldest attack on the capital since Moscow's forces retreated. Vladimir Zelensky, Ukrainian president, today right after our talks in Kyiv, Russian missiles flew to the city.
По завершенню наших перемовин в Києві у місто полетіли російські ракети. 5 ракет.
5 missiles. This says a lot about Russia's true attitude towards global institutions and about attempts of Russian authorities to humiliate the United Nations.
І це багато що говорить про справжнє ставлення Росії до глобальних інституцій, про намагання російського керівництва принизити ООН і все, що
and everything that the organization represents. Therefore, it requires corresponding powerful reaction.
організація уособлює. А отже, вимагає відповідної, потужної реакції.
З хлопцями допомогли багатьом людям. Перві, які приїхали сюди, і перві, які допомогли їм, і вони, може, будуть навіть жити. Там хлопець з відірваною ногою, так, да? Де Сокол? Ось хлопець, який налажував жгут.
And then now we got more video into the Discord of the strike in Kyiv. More footage of the Kyiv missile strike.
Let's talk about NATO.
Okay, whoa. It's not. All right. More footage of the Kyiv missile strike and the second impact recorded geolocated. Let's type this in, get the coordinates quick. So here's the coordinates of the building. We're able to street view? Yep. It's like here. Telecommunications building. Or no, not a telecommunications building. I'm sorry, that was the other day. I'm getting my days mixed up. More footage of Kyiv missile strike and the second impact recorded. Wow.
Вторая прилетела.
Вторая прилетела.
Let's continue Ukraine war video report. Some kids throwing, what is this? Some kids throwing rocks at a pro-Russian convoy for OPSEC reasons. I will say time and location unknown. Kids throwing rocks at pro-Russian cars. That was yesterday, or technically, well, it's 12:45 in the morning, so it would have been Thursday in the morning, daytime. It's Friday in Ukraine now, you guys. It's now Friday. Romania is moving military equipment to the border.
Oameni buni, ce frumos ne pregătim de pace. Dragi români,
Romania is on the border with Moldova. Romania is on the border of Moldova. There's Romania. Mick B, thank you.
American sunt? Băi, ele sunt frumoase, se văd frumos, să moră. Doamne ferește.
That was a PLS right there.
Cam asta a fost, băieți.
Right, vehicles moving towards the Romanian border. Zero casualties in illegal occupied Sevast. What is this about? From there are no Russian troops. What? Is that like a grave site for Russian soldiers, I'm guessing? They all have the Russian flag on them. Doesn't really give it a description. The Russians are actively taking out grain by hundreds of trucks from the occupied territories. One of these Z-marked convoys was filmed in Mariupol. They're being escorted by the Russian military. Mariupol. That's over here. Here's Mariupol. Southern port city. It's a little inward from the port. Ria Mariupol. These reports are huge coming out of these cities, which are occupied by Russians right now in Ukraine. I think that people are referring to Vladimir Putin and the Kremlin as Nazis because despite them being, I mean, their activities are fascist in every single way. I mean, shit. They're both, the ideology is extreme far right. I mean, unless it's the horseshoe theory. The horseshoe, the extremes are basically like right next to each other. But Putinism and the Kremlin definitely are catered to a far right audience. Definitely. How do they know it's grain and not equipment though? They're just guessing it's grain. Nationalist, true, good point. Easily win with that argument. It's not even a try. It's not that I'm trying to make the argument. It's reality. He appeals to far-right ideologies. When I was bombed in Kyiv on the 28th of April, right about the same time when the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres was in Kyiv. Okay, that's video from the 28th of April, right about the same time when the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres was in Kyiv. Today, the M270, first presented to us by partners, worked on Russians in the area of the Donetsk region. The range is 120 kilometers. The area of defeat is 25 I don't know what that means. Hectares. What is this thing? What is that vehicle? Hold on. The M270. Is that just the rocket truck that's just sideways? Okay, yeah, it's just aimed sideways off the side. We already looked at it. More from the fires of the... I don't know, that's... Some of these are tough. Russian side near Kharkiv. Hard to tell some of these videos without a geolocation. Seems like I've seen this video too. Yeah, it's from this one. All right, let's see what the latest is quick. Check the latest. What is this here? The turret that flew from over there all the way over here. That's what happens when you keep shells in the turret, like all Russian tanks do. Oh, because of the autoloader. So it flew, the top blew off. 1 hectare is 2.47105 acres. Thank you.
Заложила вот тут взрывчатку нахуй. Башня оттуда прилетела сюда. Это пизда. Вот тут злодеи, бля. Сейчас, подожди, может где-то голова его есть, бля. Это вся злодюга.
Top blew off. There's siren alert in Donetsk. What else we got here? I think that's about the... They're calling out Russian. Okay, we don't need to do that. Did stand-up comedy. This is my stand-up from a bomb shelter in Kyiv. Sorry for mistakes. Wrote it in a week and my English level is military intermediate. Oh, maybe we'll end the stream here. Maybe some stand-up comedy here.
This, like, all my country in cellar.
Let's do it. See what he's got. 1 minute and 10 seconds. Bomb shelter in Kyiv doing stand-up.
Yeah, this is our comedy cellar in Ukraine. Look like this. Like, all my country in cellar now, to tell the truth. because of bombing and rockets, all this stuff. So it's really easy to find audience for stand-up because you just come and people hear. The funniest country in Europe is Germany, because when we ask for weapons, Germany says, we don't have enough weapon to share. Oh, come on, Germany. Come on, my grandmother said you have a lot of. And,
Damn. Damn.
Russia came to Ukraine to fight fascism. But did you see Russian soldiers and armies, this letters V, letter Z, their messages like, Ukraine is not a country, Ukrainians are not a nation. What was the plan? To catch fascists, you need to think like fascists. Maybe become fascist.
Literally. They are. Russia has. So, all right, y'all. Whoa. Wonderful night, you guys, in the chat of coverage of war in the Ukraine. Ukraine war update, day 64. Thank you for keeping it good in the chat and keeping it nice and calm. The chat's not blowing up for every little thing anymore. So good stuff, you guys. Thank you again. We'll be back tomorrow night at 9:45 or 9:30, 9:45 p.m. Central Time. I'm hoping that my demonetization on Facebook is only temporary. Rewatch the video and check out the beginning of the stream if you want to see the breakdown of how exactly our Facebook page is demonetized currently. So look for more streams on YouTube. We're going to be bringing more and more Facebook viewers to the YouTube channel as time goes on. Facebook has screwed me. So, all right, y'all. See you tomorrow night. Have a good night. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and take care.